All right. So we ready? Terry?
Yep.
You've been waiting for me, I know. I apologize.
Ed?
Yes.
Just real quick,
Yes.
after you make the motion to go into executive session, give me time to turn everything
Yep.
off. And I would suggest at that time you also turn off your microphone.
Excellent.
Okay?
Thank you.
What did you say?
Turn off her microphones.
On now, off
No,
later.
at executive session.
Oh, yeah.
Noted.
Are you going away this weekend?
I was supposed to.
Usually I'm not.
I should find the,
Back in two. Nantucket, you.
this was the most. Okay. Check one. We good?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the regularly scheduled Nantucket Town of Nantucket Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, November 9th, et cetera, et cetera. So can I get an approval of the minutes of September 14th and October 12th? Or a motion to approve the minutes? Everybody read them? Eleanor?
I'm sorry, did you approve the agenda as amended?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Thank you. Michael seconded it. Any further discussion?
Nope.
No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, so now we need a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th and October 12th. Have everybody read them? I read them. They looked okay to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any issues.
Scan them.
Yeah.
You look good.
So did somebody want to make that motion? Michael? Michael makes a motion to approve the minutes as written. Who wants to second that?
A second.
Susan seconds it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 7611 Sachem's Path, Nantucket LLC, Sachem's Path 40B for the applicant.
If you read for the applicant, we're asking the board to determine as insubstantial the creation of an easement, a sewer easement, across lot 14 for the benefit of across lot 16 rather, for the benefit of lot 14. It's been shown on the plans all along. The sewer line ends right in front of lot 16, and the sewer line cuts across a corner of that lot, coming out from lot 14 into the connection in the street. Always been shown that way, and both the buyers of both lots, or both represented by John Brescher, are aware of it and are, as I understand it, completely agreeable to it.
All right. You say they both know about it?
Yes.
Do we make part of the record that they...
Mr. Brescher is here, I believe.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Attorney John Brescher, yes, our office represents both buyers, and they were aware of it.
They're not only aware of it, but they don't have a problem with it?
Correct.
Okay. Does it make sense to have that, well, is that testimony adequate as to...
The minutes would be sufficient documentation.
Okay.
We could also put something on record if you choose to do so, but if it's shown on the plans.
It's shown on the plans.
And their deeds have the easement language on there, and a copy of the plan as well. So everybody's on notice that's there.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Are those houses occupied?
They are.
So is everybody...
It's below grade, right?
What's that?
It's a below grade easement. There's nothing going to be visible, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no clean out or anything on that.
Right. No, they don't need to access, obviously. If there was a problem, they might, but no.
Right. Exactly.
I don't have any issue with that.
No issue? Michael? Anybody?
Assume they're going to pay for it, landscaping and everything.
The developer? Yeah, I mean, you mean in the future if there was an issue? It's a good question. I doubt it.
What was the question? I couldn't
If
hear.
there's an issue, who's going to pay for the?
Let's say they had to dig it up.
We have a provision in there that whoever digs it up is to restore it.
do we have that easement language and whatnot, or that will be part of the decision?
Well, it's in the deeds that we recorded. The specific language is, I believe, in here. Easement to install, repair, maintain, and replace an underground sewer line within that portion of Lot 16 lying within the easement area shown on the plan that was attached to the deed. In the event of any disturbance of the surface of the ground within the easement area by the holder of the dominant estate in connection with the exercise of this easement, it shall be the responsibility of the holder of the dominant estate to restore the surface of the ground within the easement area to its previous condition within a reasonable period of time. That's on record at the Registry of Deeds.
You okay with that?
It's probably as good as we're going to get. Seems like it puts a lot of the liability on the homeowner, right?
On the homeowner whose lot it crosses?
Yeah. He's the dominant.
No, they're the servient.
They're the servient.
Oh.
It's on.
The servient, the dominant is the holder of the
Okay.
easement. The
Gotcha.
servient is the owner of the land that it
That
runs
makes
across.
sense.
Who's the holder?
The holder,
Yeah.
the owner of Lot 14.
Oh. So who were you listing when you said would repair?
The holder of the easement, the dominant estate, Lot
Yeah.
14, has the responsibility to restore the surface of
No,
Lot
I get
16.
that. I thought you said the town or the state. That's why I was asking.
No.
No, okay, I must have misheard.
Not state, dominant estate.
Oh,
You know,
I
in an
misheard.
easement,
Okay,
as you know, you have the dominant estate and
Got
the
it.
servient estate.
Got it.
Yeah, I
I
think that's
totally
fine.
misheard.
Yeah.
Okay, I was confused of who was getting the easement.
All right, just to be clear, again, we're voting, or we're determining whether or not it's an insubstantial or substantial change first. And then if it's insubstantial, in essence, it goes through. So, as long as all that language is in there and made part of, refresh my memory, Eleanor, what do we do when something is insubstantial, other than vote that it's insubstantial or substantial? Does it then become part of the,
It's automatically incorporated into the comp permit by virtue of your finding or determination that it is insubstantial.
all right, but to the extent that this does this language and whatnot, or the easement, do we get some record of it that becomes part of the whole thing?
Well, the deeds are on record, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and you said the easement's already recorded, and that is like standard, any utility easement like
That's
that.
normal?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yep.
I'm good with it.
Does anyone want to talk about it?
Anybody in the audience want to talk about this one? No. Okay.
So do we make a motion to vote whether it's substantial or?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
make a motion to determine whether it's insubstantial or substantial.
Make a motion that it's insubstantial.
Okay, Michael makes a motion that it's an insubstantial change.
I'll second. Whatever.
Karen defers to Susan. Okay, so I guess the five regular members would vote on this. Okay? So all those, any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 5103. 5103. Rugged Scott LLC, Rugged Scott AKA Beach Palm 40B, for the applicant.
For the applicant, Mary Ann Hanley. Mr. Poster's here. Arthur's here as well. He's been working on this. We would ask to continue that portion of the hearing regarding the garage easements. Some information was submitted to you. My client's also been working closely with some of the affected affordable owners, and Arthur's also been dealing with their council in Boston. As a matter of fact, he's got a meeting next Friday up in Boston with council. So we think that it would behoove all of the parties if we could continue on with those negotiations and hopefully get back to you at the December 14th meeting with some sort of an agreed-upon resolution that would be satisfactory to you as well.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak specifically about continuing this matter? No. How does everybody feel about that?
It's fine with me.
Seems to me. Sounds.
I think it's great.
It seems to make sense to me as well. I would like to, this has been going on for a long time. I don't know how we can, oftentimes in life, things come down to the wire. So can we make that sort of the last time we're going to continue it, or at least contemplate that?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we do have an extension. They've agreed to it and already signed it. I will file that today or tomorrow for an additional 30 days, so they've been very cooperative on that front in terms of the timeline.
You just don't want to drag it off. That's what you're saying.
I would prefer not to be looking at this
In June.
come the new year. That's what I'm getting at.
No, I understand, just so you know.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the extension.
I think we can all agree that we don't want to be spending the rest of our lives dealing with this issue. As Mary Ann mentioned, I have a meeting set up tentatively next Friday with council for 3 of the affordable lot owners. And we've had some communication back and forth. It's been constructive. We're a long way from getting anything resolved, but we will meet. And I am very, very hopeful that from that, and it may take some time, Rome wasn't built in a day, that we will be able to get some resolution in the matter. I would hate to see you say, gee, this has got to be settled by December 14 or else. We certainly want it resolved by December 14, but I think it's artificial to put a deadline on it as long as the parties are talking to each other.
Well, the or else would simply be we would have to decide, and then both parties might be uncertain as to where we would lie, so maybe it would make both parties more anxious.
If we can't agree, that's obviously where we're going to have to go.
Right.
If we do, but if we can agree, then I think we would rather have an agreement that we've come to that's satisfactory to both parties rather than have to have you exercise the judgment of Solomon.
I think we're in agreement with you there. By the way, I'm not directing this at you or one side.
I know.
It's both sides.
I just want to be realistic.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But I'm loath to think that it's going to go into January. Let's put it that way. But that's it for me. So
Should I make a motion to continue?
yes, and so we do not need, just to be clear, we do not need to ask for extension. That's done, correct?
That is done.
Okay,
You
so,
have to vote to accept the extension.
okay. Okay, so, I'm sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
So I will make a motion to continue this until the December, what's the date of that?
14th.
14th meeting.
Okay, is there a second to that? Michael seconds it. Is there any further discussion? No. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so will you make another motion to accept the extension?
Sure.
What was the date that
What are the
it was
dates of this?
extended to?
May 10th.
Well, the May 10th, just to be clear, is to get
I'm sorry, May 11th.
is to get everything squared away. I think
Any
after.
changes to the comprehensive permit.
That's for the vote, the hearing to end.
May
Okay.
11th.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Lisa makes a motion to accept the extension till May 11th, 2018. Any further, or who wants to second that one? Michael, you want to second that as well? Michael seconds that. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So now we're on 51. I mean, it's basically the same application, right? But, so this new request does not have a new number, case file number, or how does that work?
No, this is a situation where they want you to make a finding this is insubstantial. Similar, it's not. Really,
Okay.
Yeah, let Mary Ann.
Yeah, for the applicant,
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Mary Ann Hanley. Yeah, this is another request for an insubstantial modification. We had previously asked to have a change in the house design of Lot 34. That's off the table. I'm going to hereby withdraw that request. We're going to stick with the design that's been approved. On the other matter is we are requesting approval, if we need it, to put a garden shed on Lot 10. It's a small 8x8 shed. The owner of the property has been working with Josh. We want to put it there. We've agreed on the design. You have the design plans. But given what has gone on over the course of the past couple of months, we just want to make sure that there's not an issue. The owner has asked us to, I want the shed, but I don't want to get in trouble. So that's why I'm here. The provisions of the comprehensive permit specifically say we can have sheds as long as the homeowners association and HDC approves them. But if you embrace that, that's great. If you have questions or you feel otherwise, I need to know now.
I don't know that we have the, do we have the design
Yeah.
plans? What page is it on?
Page 25 of packet number 1.
Oh, I don't have that packet.
You can look at this.
I do?
Should be on your right.
Oh, I thought this one was only packet.
No,
One and two.
I gave you.
This is,
Part
that's
one.
from October 12th, though. So is it in that?
Yep.
I brought this from my car. What page is it? 40?
25?
Well, why would it be in the October 12th? Lisa brought that from her car.
This is from my car. It's dated October 12th. Hold on, I don't know what it.
I mean, you can look at mine, so I know
Yeah,
what
I'll
your
look
shit
here.
looks
I
like.
did put the packet on the one here.
And it's on page 25.
I'll just look at this. Isn't it?
21, 25, 20. It's in the 20s.
Obviously for that lot.
Yeah, just to be clear, it's for that lot.
Lot
Um, Can you go back to the site plan for a sec? What is this notation? I can't tell if that's 7.5 or 75.
I think it's 7 point.
Well, that's what it looks like, but it's
Setback.
it's
The
unclear.
setback,
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Did you see a point there? I don't.
it's greater than 5 feet.
Oh,
Greater.
than-
Yeah, that's what
See?
that was.
My
It's
question.
got to
was-
be 5.
It
It's
has
going to
to
be
be
at least
5
5
feet.
feet from the
It's
lot
going to
line.
meet the setbacks.
Okay.
It doesn't look like 75, but.
This is
Let's
zoning
see.
shed.
It's well. It would.
It would be impossible for it to be 75 feet.
I'm aware, but well, not impossible, but. So this would be the so-called zoning shed.
Yes, it's a 8x8
Yeah, I don't.
zoning shed.
I don't see any issue with it.
Anyone in the audience?
Is there anybody in the audience want to speak about the shed? Yes, did someone say? No? That was involuntary. Okay. So no one in the audience wants to speak about the shed? I don't have a problem
I
with
don't
the
think
shed.
anyone has a problem with it.
No. Okay. And it meets the setbacks? That would be part of it, but again, we're not really making we're just, again,
whether or
trying
not
to
it's
determine.
insubstantial.
Insubstantial. So we would just take this site plan at greater than 5 feet. It's a little, as a determining factor.
Excuse me, can I just, one question on, can we determine whether or not we need to come back here if we want to put sheds on other lots? Can we talk about that now?
Sure, we can talk about it. I think it's a good idea only in case,
I think you do.
Somebody- Another lot?
I think it would provide some clarity for the building department too, if we can say to them, we've been to the Board of Appeals and they agree with the language that the sheds, we can have garden sheds as long as they're approved by the HDC. I just think
Well, I
it would be
think-
a lot easier for everybody going forward.
As long as, I guess the rest of that would be as long as they meet all zoning requirements. In other words, some of the houses that were originally approved and/or garages arguably had waivers, maybe not the houses, but definitely the garages in terms of setbacks. So if you're saying that every shed would be zoning compliant, I don't think we have a problem with it, but what do you think? Can we just,
I don't know, well, just out of curiosity, who was noticed about this? The neighbors?
There was no notice.
They doesn't have to be.
No.
Okay.
But I would like to point out that, and it's in your staff report, and Mary Ann put this in her letter, that there is provision in the comp permit. It's on page 3 of your staff report, under additional requests, go down. There's language specific to it's basically once a building permit's been issued for a lot, anybody who wants to make additional changes go to the HDC for things like that. So
that was a drafting error as far as I'm concerned. That was, we were meant to be, the HDC was meant, they can't make zoning determinations.
well, if it didn't meet zoning, you'd have to come to us. But if it met zoning, the dimensional requirements and so forth.
And so window
And
changes.
were otherwise allowed by right. The
Yeah.
idea here is if you own a lot and you want to put a shed on of your own volition for your benefit, used by you, you can do that by not coming to CBA and, wasting time, money, et cetera. You can just go to the HTC and do it that way. Because you already have a CO for your dwelling. You own the lot outright. So that provision is in there, so not saying we shouldn't clarify going forward, but that is in the comp plan.
I mean, that's how I see it. It's just building a shed on, just as it's normally done on any other property. But if you want it for clarification purposes,
Well, I think it's important to clarify it because we're having this discussion right now. I mean, I read it the way that you read it, but, we've got homeowners that want to build sheds, and we want to be able to tell them this is the process. If it's zoning compliant, you can build it as long as you go to HDC. If not, you're probably going to have to go back here.
Well, wouldn't they go, I'm curious, wouldn't you have to go the next step too and go to the building department?
Yeah. and get it-
Right.
that's what-
So it's not just the HTC.
Well, yeah, I mean, you
I
have to
don't,
get-
I'm just saying, don't
yeah.
give them the wrong impression. You just get
Okay.
HTC approval and plop your shed down.
I agree. You have to have a building permit for any structure. I agree. And they issue the zoning permits
A zoning
for these
permit, right.
sheds.
yeah, zoning, and they have to do an
Basically.
as-built and all that process. Just
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be, believe me, I'm not looking to be part of that process.
That's
I
what
just
I
want to
wanted
be
you to
clear
say.
on it. But that you have to go through the process just as if you were anywhere else.
yeah.
It doesn't give the HDC, maybe it wasn't this particular line, but there was another one that seemed to give the HDC the right to approve any changes to the comprehensive permit, but never mind, we don't have to discuss that. So I don't have any problem with not seeing every shed application, as long as, again, it's for the owner of the property.
That would be my only thought, is that these are pretty small lots, and, depending on where they're placed, they could negatively affect on a butter or,
I agree with that.
so it's not like this is a normally zoned area. This is a more intense development, so as evidenced by the garages that have been put on other lots, because they wouldn't be notified if it just went to the HGC, because it's undersized, doesn't meet the 1,000 square foot requirement. So the neighbors wouldn't realize that this was happening, and it's tight in there. I mean, that's no different than, on the flip side, that's no different than building in town where the lots are small, and I could get approval to put a shed on my lot and not have, well, I would have to notify my butters because it'd be over 100 square feet, chances are. 8 by 8 wouldn't. So that would be my only thought about that. This is unique. It's not like just any lot in Nantucket. These are intensely, they're very densely populated. So not that I want to see every zoning shed, but I don't want it to end up being an issue down the road like we currently have, where it wasn't clear, and then you have neighbors that are upset.
Fair enough. Did I hear or someone say something about the homeowners association doesn't have to approve the sheds, correct?
Yeah, they do.
Well, I think if the homeowners association has to approve the shed, then it takes away, it should sort of take away your concern, I think.
Yeah,
If
they've written
everybody's on the
consent of the
homeowners
association.
Well, that's right, where does the homeowners association have to notify the abutters?
Right. I mean, who was that?
Well, right now, the homeowners association is the developer, correct?
How much longer does that last for? After the last house is sold.
Yeah, that's another issue, but that's how the comprehensive permit was written, so.
I might be the only one with that concern, so it's fine if I feel like it's not an issue.
I don't know, I feel a little gun shy about this whole thing. The more we're involved and the more the homeowners, the existing homeowners are involved, the better. At this point, I just kind of feel that way.
So leave it that they have to come back for every shed?
Or
Yeah, I
if
mean,
if the...
I mean, it makes sense in the short term maybe with everything going on, but in perpetuity, we have to review a shed by right. We're kind of adding an extra requirement in here.
Making it the burden of them to show that they notify the abutters somehow?
I guess, I don't want to prolong this, you've got a big agenda, so my suggestion would be if you could go ahead and just approve the shed on Lot 10 as we requested, and then we can revisit this whole shed issue in December.
I guess the only issue is that if we feel
Because
like
there is language proposed, that was proposed when we did the garage easement thing, that talks about not granting easements for other sheds, garages, et cetera, without your approval. You haven't acted on that language yet, but I'm assuming it probably is going to be incorporated into pretty much any decision that's filed. So we need to get this shed done now. It's not my understanding we're going to be building any others between now and the next meeting.
But has the abutter been notified of this shed? The person that abuts where the shed is going?
Well,
I think that's a requirement, right?
It's not...
Well, no, right now, because they're asking if it's a substantial or insubstantial change,
Yeah.
but if we...
The HOA knows, right?
One way to deal with this in the future might be to give the zoning administrator the ability to approve it once he or she is comfortable that neither abutter
Right.
has an objection.
So I was going to say, is there a way to write in something that
Yeah.
you guys have to get letters for the abutters that the sheds are, that they know that the sheds are going in?
well, for what it's worth, I don't think we have to beat the sheds to death, believe it or not. It is a slightly more dense. It's certainly dense, no doubt. But if you were in town, you would not have to necessarily notify everybody around you.
Depends on the size. If it was more than 100 square feet, you would. If it's a 20 by 10, I would have to. So.
Well, do you want to limit
Well,
it
would
to?
they have to, in this case too?
Yeah, why wouldn't they?
No, no, because
Oh,
it's
because
1,000
it's
square
not
feet
town.
outside of town.
Yeah.
Oh,
So all we're asking for right now is to approve this 8x8
yeah.
shed.
Let's get off that other subject for now. Okay. Back to this one. Is this where the shed is going?
Yeah, it's in the backyard.
I know it's in the backyard, but I'm just saying. Yeah.
That's where the homeowner would like it to go.
It seems odd. It's right in the sort of middle of the backyard. Gotcha.
They come off of Fox Grape.
Do they come off of Woodlily or Fox Grape?
So
Okay.
they're coming in the back, and then they're...
So they're two-car side by side, and the back's right in there. Got it. Okay, so that, again, the site plan just is a little unclear, not even a little. So,
Oh, there. Can you go back? That shows where it is.
yeah, you can't see it.
I'm just curious.
I'm gonna, I'm, I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. So, are we okay with that? With the site plan such as it is? I'm okay with it.
That's fine.
It's got to be zoning compliant.
I won't vote, that's fine.
Well, you can vote. You can vote however you want.
Well, I don't want it to, yeah, it won't make a difference anyway.
You're going to vote. Okay, so anyway, will somebody make them, well, again, all we're talking about is substantial, insubstantial right now. If we wanted to deem it substantial and condition it in some way, we can do that. But then it would have to be renoticed, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
But if
make-
it's an
Like, you don't
8 by 8
have to,
shed
then
that
don't do
we're
it.
putting on an affordable owner's lot because he needs a place to put his kids'
Okay,
stuff.
but let's just be clear, because you brought it up. We're talking only about this shed being
Yes.
insubstantial?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Jim makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All right, so Lisa, you don't, Michael, since Jim made the motion, you don't have to vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Me too.
you're in?
Karen McKee, are you?
I'm not. It's,
Oh, you're not voting, you're not sitting on this?
no.
You seem to be. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of us. Okay, so all those in favor say, of it being an insubstantial change, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Me.
Nay. 4 to 1. Thank you.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Did we vote on the withdrawal?
Oh, well, Arthur, you're still, oh,
Are we
Marion's
supposed
still
to
here
vote
too.
on withdrawal? The
Yeah.
partial withdrawal, right?
I think we can just unilaterally withdraw it, but if you want to vote on it, that's fine.
It's not noticed or anything.
Not notice or anything? So we don't need to withdraw. Okay, you withdrew it. Okay. Okay with that?
I'm fine with it. Is it with prejudice? Or without?
Well, arguably, it was never open, and therefore,
Okay.
I don't think that distinction necessarily,
Well, I
plays
think we
into it.
still need to
okay, let's vote
move
on
on it, don't we, Eleanor?
If you want to do that, to be really super clear, I don't think it's necessary, but
It's fine with me, either way. Mr. Chairman, what do you want to do?
Well, let's vote on it. So, will someone make a motion to accept the applicant's withdrawal of the question regarding house model change on lot 34?
I'll make that motion.
Michael makes the motion. Somebody second it?
I'll second.
Jim seconds it. So same people voting. Any further discussion? No.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nope.
No. Okay, thank you. Okay. So, we don't, do we, okay, 2017, the applicant would like to continue to December 14, 2017. Do we need to vote to accept that? Yes, okay. So, will somebody make that motion?
Second.
Michael makes the motion, Kieran seconds it. All those, anybody here to talk about that? This was
Walsh, 53 Walsh?
53, or 3 Wall Street?
3 Walsh.
3 Walsh. Okay, no. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, 2317, Fernando C. Colon Osario and Lori Margolis, trustees, Eel Point Road, nominee trust, 189 Eel Point Road, for the applicant. I thought Susan was on this, so, originally, yeah, so she should come back. But while she's gone, since we didn't really open that, I think we can go ahead and take care of the other 2 continuances. 2617, Scott B. Payton, Kristen Payton, or Patton, 33 Orange, for the applicant, Mr. Brescher. They would like to continue to December 14, 2017.
Is there anybody here?
Anybody here to talk about that? No. All those, any discussion on the board level? No. Anybody want to make that motion?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Lisa makes a motion to continue December 14th. Karen seconds it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
2717, Douglas LeBrecq, Gina LeBrecq, 4 Daffodil Lane. For the applicant, Mr. Conley, they also would like to continue to December 14th, 2017. Sitting members were E.T., MJO, SM, GT, JM. So we should vote on that again. So is there anybody come to speak about that one? No. So you want to make that motion?
Sure.
Michael makes the motion.
I'll second.
Susan seconds. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. So now we're back to 2317. Fernando Rosario. Go ahead, Arthur.
Okay, Arthur Reed for the applicants. You recall this was continued previously. We had come before the board with the application to obtain relief to allow the construction of a garage to serve the our client's property out on Eel Point Road, and with relief from the side yard setback requirement, or the front yard setback requirement from, excuse me, East Eel Point Road. The original proposal that our clients had on this was to place a garage that would be located on the southwesterly side of the existing house. The town had taken with the intent to dispose of the unconstructed right-of-way lying between this property and the abutment to the south, which runs down toward the water, toward land bank property. And even though there would have been an easement that would have been retained, the land bank did object to the town disposing of the property other than to the land bank. And the town still owns the property. It hasn't been disposed of. But the land bank, considering that the way that this had gone down, wrote a letter which you have in support of the application that we've come in with to place the proposed garage on the other side of the house. Again, the reason for the garage is that our client lives on island year-round. He has to go in town in the wintertime because of the fact that the house isn't winterized. A vehicle out in this area is subject to, during winter weather and storms, to damage, and therefore what he wants to do is to be able to have a garage structure which would enable him to park inside it, and also to have the mechanical systems that would support the heating and winterizing of the house. We're proposing to place the garage 5 feet from the lot line with the road. However, the road at this point is quite some distance. It's very wide on paper, and in fact is just a dirt track leading out to Eel Point. It's the actual distance between the proposed location and the actual travel track in the roadway is in excess of 30 feet. What we have done, there was some concern about that relief, and we were looking at, based upon the last meeting, at the possibility of any other alternatives on the lot. And there really isn't any other location that the structure could practically be placed upon the lot, even though it's a very large piece of property, because you have extensive wetlands. And this is about the only area, or is the only area, where, granted the location of the house, granted the location of the septic system, and the setbacks, that any structure could be placed. We looked a little bit at the possibility of being able to move it so there would be more than 5 feet from the line. And we actually have a plan now that I'd like to circulate that gets the distance up to 10 feet.
already in our packets?
No.
No, that one only shows 5.
Good plan.
Was that the letter from the land bank submitted earlier?
Land Bank submitted a letter for the last meeting.
Oh, for the last one.
Yeah, I don't see the letter for the land.
I don't see the letter from the land bank. Wouldn't that have been in our packet?
Do we have a copy of that letter? We didn't.
Arthur, what's this? Arthur, what's this right here?
The second dwelling. I'm kidding.
What's this here, this strip?
Where's the 10 feet?
Oh,
Okay, so they went
Yeah.
from 5 to 10.
it's a big bocce court.
Well, I mean,
In any event, the plan that you have shows a separation of 10 feet, which is obviously an improvement over the 5 feet that we proposed before, and we're still able to do this and maintain a 10-foot separation from the leach trench, which is shown on the plan, and which is sort of that's the factor that keeps us from moving it any further in that direction. And that essentially is what we have to present to you today.
I'm going to summarize, well, I'll read the land bank letter because everybody doesn't have it in their package. Dear Chairman Toole, the Land Bank Commission discussed this matter extensively at its last meeting on August 7, 2017. The current request for variance is the Commission's preferred alternative for siting of the garage, as other proposed options would result in limiting the rights of the public in abutting road parcels. Given the site constraint, this request appears to be the only visible alternative for the applicant that does not impinge upon the public interest. That's in comparison to putting it in the, I mean, I don't feel that that's a letter of support is what I'm getting at. As opposed to putting it in the road, the land that
Right.
they were hoping to get from the town.
Right.
That's how I feel about it.
And we had talked about at the last meeting, I think, of trying to put it on the west side of the dwelling. Remember that? Or
I
is
do.
there-
My client would
Sure.
like to address you directly on that point.
Since he wrote the letter, I have had several conversations with Eric about the matter. And I said to Eric, I mean, this has been going on now for several months. And I can assure you that Eric is in support of this plan. I mean, he really told me so. So that's the letter he wrote. If you require, I can go back to Eric and have another letter that meets your requirements. That wouldn't be a problem.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
Arthur,
Go ahead.
the letter in opposition from Mr. Crowder, was he able to see these plans, the new plan that you guys have?
I can speak to that also. The meeting came to with Mr. Crowder in at least 7 occasions. And he was opposed because he thought we were going to put it in the previous plan. That was his original concern in between the two. I sent him the new plan, and his only concern was, well, what is the lighting going to be? And what is
Lighting
the
and
landscape-
vegetation?
And what is the landscaping going to be when you put the garage? And I said, well, that's another matter that has to go in a different location. I will do that when it's appropriate. Right now, what we're trying to get is the zoning board. So we had at least 7 emails and 7 conversations on the matter.
When was Mr. Crowder's letter
November 1st.
dated?
November
In
1st.
November,
It
beginning
was
of,
only a couple of weeks ago.
yeah.
So, I don't know when the
It says-
7.
It says, "My neighbor has asked for our support of this matter, but a request for lighting and vegetation plans yield nothing to make us supporters." So it mentions they've been in conversation.
You have stated that the house is not winterized and therefore seasonal?
That's correct.
Yes.
All right. I happen to go on the internet, and it certainly, I'm not even sure. So your building permit, if you will, was for a seasonal house, unheated, uninsulated. You have to vacate the house by a certain date.
My client didn't build the house.
Well, I'm asking, is that what the house is, or is it not? Is it sort of winterized? Like it has insulation in the walls?
Do this way, every season, over the last 15 years, the pipes are frozen underneath because they're exposed, and the pipes are frozen inside because of the cold weather. 2 years ago, I replaced all of the pipes inside the house, and I put insulation on the pipes inside the house myself, so it wouldn't happen anymore. And then last year, I went on and replaced all of the pipes underneath and built what can be described as nothing more than a box, and tried putting insulation on that also. I asked the plumbers if we can put a false floor and then put electric heat down there so that wouldn't happen, and they recommended against that. So the best that I could do was to build kind of a long box where the pipes are, and then put insulation. And again, we have frozen pipes this past spring after I did that last year.
So you have a heat system with
Electric.
piping?
Only electric. There's no other heat system in that house.
Is there AC in the house?
No.
Your website advertises it.
No, I have units. The website says units.
How would this
I-
garage deal with this issue of
Yeah.
uninsulated pipes?
Yeah.
Can I ask that question? How does the garage affect the issue of uninsulated pipes?
The idea is we'll put the mechanicals in the garage.
Yeah,
We'll put a heat pump, which is what I want to do because I'm very concerned with the environment, so I don't want to burn any hydrocarbons. And then run pipes into the house, and that will become the main heating system for the house and cooling for the house. Then we will proceed, that's part A, and then we'll proceed to insulate all the outside walls and do what house needs to be done, and replace the current electric heat units with water-to-water heat pump driven units.
okay, can I have a follow-up question? Is there a reason why the building has to be so large to hold a heat pump?
No, I said there's two reasons. One is the heat pump, the other is the garage. And that question was asked the last time. And I answered the same thing that I will answer today. If you have had a car out there, I have replaced already the undercarriage of 2 cars within the last 5 years. If you put anything outside in Eagles Point, if you walk out there, you will see the wind whipping in continuously with the seawater, and nothing lasts more than a couple of seasons.
So are the cars out there in the winter?
Yeah.
Are you living there?
Oh,
But are you living there in the winter?
right now, no. I have to move in town.
But you leave your cars
But you
out
leave
there.
the cars out there to be rusted?
No, the car's rusted only for being there between March. I come out there in March to get the house ready to live. My wife moves in out there the 1st of April, and we stay there until right now, between November and the last day of November, we close it down.
But I'm confused why the
Yeah.
cars stay out there. Why don't you bring them to town?
I bring one car into town, and I leave one car with a cover out there.
I don't think it's a compelling reason to get a variance. The other car, everybody deals with my
I don't
car
have a car.
outside.
I don't have room in my house.
So that wouldn't be a compelling reason. The living out there is a compelling reason.
Well, living out there, if you're specifically talking about wanting to install a heat pump, it does not need to be enclosed. So I don't really understand the need for a 20 by 24 building. If you would come in here and said, I want to put a little shed to put my heating equipment, maybe, but you came in with a 20 by 24 2-car garage. You were uncertain as to whether there was a second story to that garage in the first meeting, so it just doesn't seem right to me. So,
It's your opinion.
what kind of foundation do you? Is it piles?
Files.
I'm not sure you answered Lisa's question, how a different heating system is going to protect your pipes if the house is up on piles.
Well,
The pipes
why?
are still going to be susceptible to freezing.
No, if you run a trench underneath where the pipes go between the garage and the main unit. And as you know, if you go deep enough, the temperatures remain at a custom 55, if you go deep enough.
No, I'm talking about the domestic hot and cold water.
That's one in
Well,
under
that, what
foundation.
we'll do is bring them in, then go up, put a box, insulate it, and bring it into the house. I mean, unless you have another suggestion, that's what I.
Put a foundation under the house.
Is there a reason you can't put a foundation under the house? Is it a Concom thing, or
I have no idea. It was built on islands.
what's that, Paul?
I'm sorry, for the record, Paul Santos, the house on Miles it was originally in the flood zone. It's further in the flood zone now that the new house was done. It was a condition of the original Concom approval that it had to be on file.
I would love to build a foundation.
I still don't.
I still don't understand how you get water to that entirety of the first floor up to other, you can't just have one source coming into the house in a little box.
And I also don't understand why it has to be such a big building if the goal is to get heat.
It doesn't seem, again, but anything, well, it did change from 5 to 10. How does everyone else feel?
I agree with you.
You said it in the mic.
I agree with Edward.
Does anybody in the audience want to speak specifically to this? No.
Can I ask another question? I mean, I guess it's irrespective of whether or not he needs a two-car garage, but is there a reason it doesn't work on the west side as an attached part to the building? In between the 50 and 100 on the west side of the building, it looks like you could fit something 20, maybe 20 wide by 24 deep that would not, it'd be outside of the Concom jurisdiction, it'd be outside of a zoning setback. It's attached to the house, and the driveway would have to change. But there seems to be an alternative location.
Yeah.
Well, there's certainly an alternative, but it's not a 20 by 24 building.
Well, it's probably 24 deep by 20 wide.
No, I know, I'm just saying.
So, I mean, there's an alternative location.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, access-wise, it doesn't make sense for it to be a garage, but, I mean,
Well, if you
addition on
change
that
the
side.
driveway,
Well,
you have to
that-
change the driveway. You're driving to the septic system anyway.
I'm sure that's going to make the neighbor.
Yeah, it might not, but I'm just saying that there was mention in the in some presentation that there was not another alternative, but I'm just suggesting that there are other alternatives if he would like a place to store a car over the winter. That gets it out of the setback.
Right.
The intent here is also obviously where it is now basically stays, you're basically constructing within an already developed area of the lot. Here, from a Conservation Commission perspective, you're basically building in the driveway that's already existing. You're not altering any vegetation, you're not doing anything other than staying.
And what about if
within
you,
a developed area.
if you put something here? I mean, you'd have to move the tank, but you'd still be 10 feet away, and you would, it just appears that there might be some different alternatives. If it's a one-story garage, or again, if it's really, I think it's, the size of the building just seems excessive for what he's looking for. He'd obviously like to get heat and have two cars, which we don't, I'd love to have a two-car garage. I don't have room for it, so.
Why don't we go back to the microphone?
What do you think?
Why don't we look at that? I also would like to look at the possibility, if it would help with the board, of increasing even beyond the 10 feet of separation. We might be able to get, another couple of feet up in there. And we can take a look at the latter suggestion. I don't think the first one works too well because of the location of the driveway, and again, we don't really want to antagonize the neighbor if we can help it. But I think the second suggestion of adding on to the end of the house nearest the driveway might be something we can look at. I don't know, but let's take a look at it. But I'm going to suggest that we continue the thing again until the December meeting so that we can take a look at those and come back with some other ideas.
Okay. I do want to be clear, though, just, I think getting 12 feet away from the property line isn't going to make a huge difference to me if this is a 20 by 24 foot structure. Just
I
to
don't think it's
get
any
on the record.
structure.
Yeah.
Other than, you can if your stated goal is to protect the house pipes from freezing, getting away from the cars, you can do it without getting a variance. Anyway, the applicant would like to continue to December 14th to explore options. Karen makes a motion. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Lisa seconds it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Patton was continued, right?
Yes, so now we're on 2917, 1921 Starbuck Road LLC, sitting ET, LB, SM, MJO, and JM. Complex, Mark
There's
4.
also some stuff in
So Jeff, you have a conflict on this one?
Not on this one.
the next one.
Not sitting on one of the other, the next one.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't sit up there. It's kind of confusing. Yeah, no worries. Only because you're confusing it. All righty, anyway, so Jeff, did you sit on this? The first? No.
No.
And did you see the letter that came in
Yeah.
this afternoon?
This afternoon?
It came in
Yeah, I
via
did.
email.
No.
I forgot to print it, but
I didn't print it. You didn't see it?
No.
it was just some requests by a neighbor. Do you have a copy of that, Eleanor? The letter that came in this afternoon?
Well, anyway, we didn't really, let me go through my,
Very late.
Yeah, it was very late.
let's let Mr. Brusher,
I have it, I can read it.
Oh,
Great.
go ahead.
we're all set. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the applicant, Attorney John Brescher, this is now the third hearing for this application. I just want to give a quick recap of where we are. What we are requesting is my client's 1921 Starbuck Road LLC are the owners of 1921 Starbuck Road. They've merged the premises, making an oversized lot of approximately 42,000 square feet. In the VR zoning district, they're looking to construct a pool, and as Leslie Snell, the Deputy Director of Planning, explained to the board last month, sort of the impetus behind the bylaw change and why this application is in front of the Board of Appeals for the first time, and sort of what the task of the Board of Appeals is at hand. So specifically, the language and the definition for swimming pools states that in the VR district only, ZBA, acting as a special permit granting authority, may grant the special permit to allow a residential swimming pool, subject to the following criteria being met. One, that the lot must meet or exceed the minimum lot size of the district. The lot size in the VR district is 20,000 square feet. We have 42,000 square feet. The side and rear yard setbacks of 20 feet shall apply to the residential swimming pool and associated mechanical equipment. Per the Blackwell plan, all of our equipment and the pool is sited 20 feet from all lot lines. The abutter to the north is town-owned property. It's conservation land, so there are no issues there. I do have Ms. O'Rourke, the landscape architect for this proposal, who will be happy to answer any questions and go into detail with the planting plan. The planting plan has been approved through the HGC. It's been a thoughtful process in that we are trying to minimize sound and light aspects to this, because clearly this is a sensitive area, as evidenced by the abutters and their comments. So at the same time, we want to be able to meet building codes, meet the lighting bylaw, and still be good neighbors to the abutters. So as such, I would say that we would certainly follow all the regulations of the Of the lighting bylaw, and especially with respect to any dark skies initiative, we do need lights in the pool. I don't think that's negotiable, unfortunately. And with the dark skies, obviously, if there's everything we can do to make sure the lights are pointing down, not pointing up, to impact the lighting, we'll do that. And again, Elizabeth may be able to talk to the planting plan better than I would, and in that how it will help for screening for both sort of sound and noise buffering. The approved HGC plan is in your packet, but it may be a little difficult to read from the initial submission, so I have larger copies if you would like to see it.
I just want to clarify one thing, too, because you read something, John, that said the ZBA may, the special permit granting authority may issue special permit for structures, but I believe last meeting there was language that Leslie Snell brought us that says the special permit granting authority shall issue special permits for
That's
structures.
right, and the shall language is not in the definition of swimming pool, which is what I read. The shall language is actually in section 30A,
Right.
which, as she mentioned about the Attorney General saying that the Board of Appeals shall.
I sort of looked up the definition of shall, though. It doesn't mean you have to.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't mean the special permitting authority has to.
Okay, made it sound like we had to if it met those
I
requirements.
don't think so.
Okay.
That's not how I read it.
Okay.
I mean, you shall. It's almost like you can if you want, but.
Well, that's why may is a better word for that.
I
It's
thought
not right. It's not a must.
Right. It's not a must. You shall, if you deem it. Anyway,
It's
we
stronger than a
digress.
may.
Okay.
It's I just didn't read it as you had
A
to.
mandate.
Right.
Okay.
Or you, as Jim says, you
Thanks
must.
for the clarification, because it came across that way the last time. So, okay, sorry.
No,
I just
so
wanted to
so
clarify
if
that.
you would like me to bring up the copies of larger landscaping plans, I'd be happy to. And if-
We should see the landscaping plan,
Elizabeth?
absolutely. I have a couple of questions. It's a double lot. The pool is pretty hard, not exactly to the right, or what would be the east. Was there any contemplation of trying to get everything a little further away from the lot line, so the neighbor on that side would be less impacted?
Elizabeth will work for the applicant, so
You have one copy?
I brought two of these, so I just
Here.
highlighted in green the screening. So those are tall shrubs. And the one in the back, the viburnum vegetatum, which grows about 12 feet of height, 5 to 9 feet wide.
Could you speak in the microphone?
Yeah.
So what were you suggesting, which way?
Okay, so we're proposing, viburnum vegetatum at the back. It goes 12 feet wide. We're spacing them 3.5 feet on center. We have 37 of those, so it's going to be very densely planted. To answer your question, Mr. Toole, about the siting of the pool, we're 21 feet at the closest point. We're 140 feet away from one property line. We're about 40 feet away from another, and we're beyond that on the other side. So it's only 20 feet in the area where we're closest to the house, because we couldn't get any closer to it. We're also fully fenced on all sides. When we first started working on this project, the pool was supposed to go on the water side of the house, and so we moved the house. We moved the house closer to Starbuck Road to make a nice niche for it in the back. And the HDC has determined that this is well screened and not visible from a public way.
And I believe this did go to the Nantucket Advisory Board, and with the location of the septic system, I believe this is where the house and the pool needed to be sited.
Okay. What about the pool equipment? Where is that? Is that going in that building?
If that building is permitted, the intention is to put it underneath,
What do you mean if it's permitted?
because it's going to be in the exemption of the pool cabana, and if we're still allowed to put equipment down below, that's where it will go.
You
If
mean
not,
it's-
it will be enclosed and
It's a
fenced.
You mean
Zoning
it's a
shed?
zoning shed?
Yes.
Then you're
No
not
plumbing,
allowed to.
right?
Oh, no, sorry, we have 280 square feet left. No, so it's going to be a
regular
proper
building.
cabana. Yes.
And will the equipment be over 20 feet from the property line?
It is.
Okay.
But
It's going to be under the building.
it will be in the building, all of the equipment.
That's the intention, yes.
Well, I think it would be a stipulation.
Yes.
Not just the
Yes,
intention.
it will be under the
It
building.
will be, or we won't give you relief. Sure.
Yes, it will be
I
under the
think.
building. Well, I think the zoning requires that it be 20 feet away from a setback line.
Yes. But not enclosed.
No, it doesn't
Yeah.
require that it be enclosed,
might
but
make-
we may
We may.
impose
Absolutely.
conditions,
It's fine with
safeguards,
me.
et cetera.
And if that would help with the noise, then sure, that's something that we would do.
And if I asked you to drop off a package, and I said you may drop off the package, or you shall drop off the package, I think it sounds a little different.
Well, it definitely sounds different. I'm just saying I didn't want to feel like we were hamstrung. But are you telling me we are?
But there's a little more of a,
Yeah,
Of
there's
an
a little more
order with
emphasis. So, how does everyone feel about this? We've been sort of batting this around for a while. The planning board, in their infinite wisdom, has made it our ball to bat, I guess. So, how do we all feel about it? Well, let me just go to the audience first. Is there anyone who wants to speak specifically about this? Go ahead, just come up to a mic, please. And identify yourself, please.
Well, I'm Bruce Mandel. I'm a resident of Nantucket. I'm a member of several Nantucket area associations and a board member of one. I'm here speaking as a private citizen, not as representatives of those organizations. I've got something I'd like to give to the committee, if I may.
Sure.
Being unaccompanied, unaccustomed to speaking publicly, I made notes that I will probably read from.
That's fine.
Is that what these are?
Yes, it is. And so you might be able to follow along.
Are you going to paraphrase that or read it
I'm
word
gonna
for
try to
word?
read it because, but I'll try to paraphrase it if I need to.
Thank you.
And the reason, let me get back to the microphone.
I'm sorry, could you state your name and where you live?
I live at 10 Midland Avenue in Nantucket.
So where is that relative to property?
The property is at Starbuck,
Yeah.
about a quarter mile away. And my comments relate to just swimming pools and how they impact the Nantucket community.
Oh, okay, not as a...
And what I'm going to address is not whether someone has the right to put a pool in, shall, may. It's more a matter of if you issue a permit. And kind of as a prologue to this discussion briefly, as you probably know, the Nantucket Area Plan was developed by the work group and facilitated by the NPED&C, spearheaded by Andrew Vorse and Leslie Snell. And it was adopted in 2006. In part, it states that Nantucket residents want to maintain their country and low-density neighborhood of the neighborhood, and that's part of what we're going to be talking about for just a minute or two. In the effort to maintain this country nature, that plan also limits heights of buildings, structures to 25 feet, and secondary structures and ancillary buildings to 22. So it's pretty comprehensive in terms of trying to maintain the country atmosphere. And I heard council mention the lighting code, chapter 102 of the code of the town of Nantucket regarding outdoor lighting. States Part D, the secondary purpose of this chapter is to preserve the rural nature of the countryside, enhance nighttime enjoyment of the property, and protect property values by controlling light trespass, and to enhance the enjoyment of the night sky. According to measurements by Mariah Mitchell, Nantucket's nighttime sky is darker than 22 stellar magnitudes from a square arc seconded, and that's a rather scientific term, but what it basically means is that the darkness in Nantucket is comparable to that present in professional observatories. And if we ever wanted to qualify it, it could be certified as an international dark sky reserve. There are only 10 of those in the world. I gave you a reference for that. Regarding the Nantucket area plan, Nantucket's a very quiet residential area. We already know from studies done in 2012 by acoustic engineers that the ambient background noise in Nantucket is about 25 decibels. That's equivalent to the sound similar to what you would hear with normal hearing, not hearing aids like me, of the ocean. It's approximately a quiet whisper. I'm very concerned about the discharging of pool water. Now, I've been involved in constructing pools as part of projects across the country for my entire career. I recently retired. So I'm quite familiar with pool regulations. As a matter of fact, one of those towns even has requirements about discharging, draining pool water, whether it's chlorinated or salt water. I just brought this, and you guys could have that too.
Thank you.
It's not relevant to this because of the following. These pools are going to be part of Nantucket's watersheds, A and B. And those watersheds are sensitive elements of the West End. As a matter of fact, we're having a discussion tonight in this very room about the ground and surface waters in Nantucket and how that relates to the landfill Long Pond, Hither Creek, Nantucket ditch. It's a forum I invite you all to attend. The proposed pools are in watershed A, and watershed A is the subject of ongoing septic system discussions. So discharged pool water could adversely affect Nantucket groundwater, surface water, and impact nearby wells, septic tanks, and leach fields. According to an email this morning from the Nantucket Health Department, currently there are no regulations regarding this issue in place. However, we are having a discussion about this at the Board of Health meeting next Thursday. We're having a discussion on how to address people discharging water into the wetlands, which is where this is, very close to wetlands, the road, and onto other people's properties and wells. I checked with the state, and the State Environmental Protection Agency has a regulation about this, and I gave you the reference there, 314.CMR9, that ought to be followed concerning the dechlorination of pool water before it's discharged. But the State Environmental Protection Agency does not address the actual discharging of the pool water. Therefore, I'm requesting that HDC consider the following conditions might be placed on any special permit allowing a pool to be installed in Nantucket. 1, the use of an acoustically insulated pool equipment enclosure. The enclosure should completely in-house all the mechanical equipment and pipes to limit the noise to 25 decibels or less, measured 10 feet away. That's noise. Regarding lights, 2, the photometric pattern of all outdoor lighting. A photometric pattern, I'm sure you know. I brought examples from my construction world. It's a diagram that shows how a light fixture casts light downward on the ground and the intensity. You can pass this around, but maybe I get back to my pass it around. Just a couple of hot copies. My purpose in giving you this is that this should be part of any submission to the HDC to show that there will not be light trespass based upon the actual fixtures that are going to be installed in the pool enclosure and on the house. So I'm asking that a photometric pattern of all outdoor lighting should be such that the patterns are not designed so as to cast light outside the fenced and closed pool area, and shall be such that light trespass outside the pool area is eliminated. Specific light fixture selection should be part of the approval process, with each type of fixture and lamping showing the pattern. There should be no underwater lighting. I know from experience in constructing these things commercially that areas of shimmering light surface can be created by underwater lighting, and it will cause stargazing neighbors whose eyes have already adapted to the darkness to lose their night vision. 4, all light fixtures, ground and wall mounted, even those mounted on the walls of the house facing the pool area, should be shielded to only function as downlights and shall not cast light off the premises. So all the lighting should be downward shielded. 5, all outdoor lights should be turned off before 10 p.m. to maintain the rural's nighttime enjoyment of our properties. And of course, all lighting should be in strict compliance with the town code. Regarding the viewscape, the view of the pool area from off-property should be hidden from view by all direct line-of-sight abutters, windows having the line of sight, people walking along the roads, and things of that nature, by means such as sufficiently tall vegetation as screening. 8, and these next 2 items are very important to the environment and to what we're dealing with in groundwater out in Nantucket. Pools should not be filled using well water, as that would likely affect the sole source and very, very thin Nantucket aquifer, which is being used by all of the neighbors' wells. A professional pool service company should be used to fill and to discharge the water of these pools, and there are such companies on the island. 9, and this is important, the dumping of treated pool water, that's chlorinated, and salt pool water, which technically is also chlorinated. Salt water turns into, I think it's called sodium bibromethate. It's a salt. But discharging that onto the ground should be prohibited, as it would likely adversely affect the ground and surface water, the well water, and nearby septic systems, some of which the Board of Health is already claiming in Nantucket are compromised. Discharging pool water should be done only by a professional island pool service company experienced in the proper discharge of pool water. So I would request that you would consider possibly attaching some of these conditions to any pool permit that you advance. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any specific questions. Many of these, some of them are in our purview, some aren't, but I think we can probably...
I don't think any of these conditions are burdensome, especially considering that these pools are an enhancement to the properties, and they will also enhance the enjoyment of those property owners' use of their property.
Okay. So, does anybody have any questions for the gentleman? No?
I just have one on that underwater lighting. Didn't we determine that by law you have to have underwater
We
lighting?
determined that it wasn't
So
our
it might
purview
now.
too, right? Didn't
But
we
there
just
might,
say-
I just wanted to make
Well,
that point.
there are, it's a good point. There are minimums that you could have for under in-pool lighting to meet the code.
Yeah, I don't know what.
You
I
have
don't know
to have
what they are.
lighting in the
You,
pool.
think
Well, you have to have
lighting.
lighting,
Yeah.
but you don't have, and I'm not saying that Elizabeth or whomever was proposing 30 lights in the pool, but if 2 are required, maybe that's what you can get, not 30.
Right.
And maybe they don't light up red, white, and blue, which you can do now very easily
Right, you can change
with
the
the
color.
LEDs. So, there are limits.
Can I add a couple things to what the gentleman said?
Sure.
So we would propose to only have very low voltage lighting, so very minimalist, that would not go beyond the pool area. Secondly, we are committed to having any water discharge be done off-site, so that could be pumped and brought off-site. We're committed to having large plant material to screen the pool properly.
Could you say again about the discharging?
If in need that we need to get the pool water out there, we can do it off-site, get it pumped and get it done off-site.
When you say off-site, you mean
It would be
on the ground
That
or the
would-
road?
it would be
No,
truck-
you really shouldn't talk, it's awkward.
Sorry.
and-
Sorry.
Yeah, let Elizabeth finish, and then you can have another chance.
So it would be pumped and hauled away.
Okay, specifically to the lighting situation, I think at a minimum, there should be a lighting plan
We can submit that.
that would be attached to this that we could review. And I'm not a lighting expert, so there should be some sort of analysis of the light throw, or whatever one calls it, from each light. The photometric patterns, etc. I mean, if indeed we were to see our way towards granting relief.
This is strictly for the pool, correct? You're not
No.
requiring this of every
Landscape
homeowner in Nantucket that this supply you with a landscape lighting plan.
Right.
Every home?
Yeah,
No, I'm asking the person who's seeking relief to
right,
give
but
me a
for the
plan.
pool, correct? Like not.
Well, no, and everything that encompasses the pool, not just the lights in the pool. There's a lot of landscape element here, so that's related to the pool.
But the swimming pool is an enclosed area, fenced and gated and planted and screened. Does it satisfy this board for us to supply the lighting that will take place in this vicinity?
Yeah, in
where
the fenced area,
The
yes.
fenced pool area, not the whole.
I mean, the
property.
rest of it, that's why I say some of the items that you brought up are within our purview, and some certainly aren't. For us to try to determine what the lighting pattern is on the house or guest cottage, that's not really in our purview, and we're not going to get into it. Hopefully, any new neighbor in Nantucket bought out there for the same reasons you love it, and would be cognizant of the light. But
And Elizabeth, could you submit with any information the requirement from the building department for lighting in the pool? In the
Yes.
pool itself?
Yes.
And I think the lighting plan in the pool should be the minimum requirement.
Right.
We have no objections to that.
Yeah, so I just want to verify that. And remind us what this doesn't have a key, so the screening that you're proposing on the north side?
I do have a key planting plan with me if you want, but continue.
Well, I'm just curious what
Yeah.
it is, because I see the designations here, but it's not on this plan. Well, how tall is the material that's going to be on the north and east sides of this and the west sides?
Abutting the Nantucket Conservation Foundation property is viburnum dentatum, which will grow to about 12 feet of height. We're getting them at 5 to 6 feet of height. We're planting them 42 inches on center.
Okay, so this does not say that. It says 4 to 5 feet, 4 feet on center, but you'll update that too.
Yeah.
If I'm reading this right. Oh, no, you know
It's
what?
42 inches on center. So that's
There's
3.5
two viburnum dententums, blue muffin, and then, so it's the bottom one, the
Yeah.
VI.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's accurate, okay. They go in at 4 feet. And is that 4 feet above, because the grade of the pool is being brought up?
Yeah, it's at 16, and the grade of the property line goes from about 11 to 13 or 14.
So one set of this is going to be at 11, which when they're put in, then will only be to 16 to the top. So
Yeah.
they'll only be at the pool terrace.
Briefly, they'll grow. The younger the plant material is, the more vigorous it is.
How, when you say briefly, how many years?
That grows about a foot a year.
So it would take 2 or 3 feet to get it above somebody's head, maybe 2 feet
Yeah.
from the Nantucket Conservation property.
At the lower elevation, we could substitute to like a 6 to 8.
Or we could require you put something up in the lawn, at the lawn.
Well, there's 2 levels, right? There's a lower level, then there's an
Yeah.
intermediate level.
Right.
And what height is that level at?
We're doing PG, so those go to 5, 6 about 6 feet high.
And no, but I mean, what was the grade at that level? Is it like 13 and a half, is halfway?
Yeah.
Okay, so then
I mean, arguably, from across the, sorry about that, from across the Nantucket Conservation Area, you will be able to see the pool, because those plants are not going to be above the pool.
what do you mean they're not going to be able to pull
Well, it's going to take several years.
Well, if she has a mid-level at 13 and a half and the pool's at 16, and those are at 6 feet, that means from the Nantucket land at 11, they're 8.5 feet tall.
I'm talking about when you go back, I'm assuming that's a trough, that Nantucket, I don't have topo.
I don't know, we don't have topo.
There's-
No, it looks consistent. It looks like, well, this is a topo line here that looks like it's going the length. I don't know. When you said trough, I'm not sure which
Well,
one.
I'm thinking this is that flat?
Oh, I think wasn't it,
Is that
wasn't
flat
it
or does
termed
it
like
go
a-
down?
It's a bowl.
like a bowl, right?
So I'm saying these are up at this, either higher
About
or at
this-
the same
about
level.
the same level.
Yeah, so they can see right to the pool from upstairs.
From
So I'm
upstairs,
getting it.
from
It's
upstairs.
like on the viburnum.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was talking about ground, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, there's no plant life
That's
up
gonna
at
screen
pool
it.
level.
Yeah,
Because they want to look out over the trough, I assume, as well.
yes.
I don't, but just saying. So, what do we think about that? What do we think about this whole thing?
Well, maybe you could
Pools
just
in
do a quick
Nantucket.
site
Because
section.
this isn't
If you just do a cross-section that shows the levels and the heights, that would be helpful. What is this?
Mr. O'Mara, what do you think?
I have a couple thoughts
Go
on
ahead.
numbers 1 through 9. First of all, somebody may have asked you this, Mr. Mandel. Are you in a butter to this property?
Clarification for a
No,
second.
he's not.
This young lady just mentioned that the lighting would be all low voltage. Now, low voltage lighting is different than low wattage. You know, low voltage lighting is kind of those, like, lights that you put around stairs and whatnot. I'd just like to understand what kind of lighting is being intended.
Well,
Landscape lighting is low voltage. right?
low voltage can be
Right.
low wattage, but still very bright. Let's just be very clear
They
about
are.
it. So that's why we're going to get a lighting plan before we vote on anything.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's all right.
Mr.
I
Merritt.
assume that whatever they do will be in strict compliance with the town of Nantucket code. So, as far as the lighting goes.
Well, we're assuming that too, but we're
Okay.
also hoping it's in keeping with the Nantucket area plan.
Okay. I must have missed the answer to this question, because apparently you were asked if you were in a butter.
I am not a physical abutter.
How far is your house from the proposed pool?
About a quarter of a mile,
Okay. Can you see it from your house?
yes.
From which floor? Or the roof?
My
or-
house is, no, my house is an upside-down house. It's located on the highest point west of the landfill, so I've got a pretty panoramic view.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple notes that on 1 through 9 as far as whether I would support them or not.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm fine with 1. 2, I'm not in favor of 3, because it deals with underwater lighting, and which is, you need lighting. It's a health hazard not to have lighting around a pool at night when there's people and families, young kids walking around the pool. So I'm not in favor of that. I'm reluctantly in favor of 4. I'm not in favor of 5, that all lights are turned off by 10 p.m.
I think that's part of the Nantucket lighting code.
All right, let Mr.
Okay.
But if
O'Mara
it is,
finish.
you
Let
know,
Mr.
okay.
O'Mara finish, please.
I am in favor of 6, which requires the lighting to be in strict compliance with the Code of Nantucket.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of 7, in terms of what the neighbors can see from their second-story windows. And I'm in favor of 8, with the exception of the word pool, as it refers to a professional pool service company.
Okay.
Shall be in charge of discharging the water. There are companies that take away wastewater. And I'm okay with with 9, with the exception of the word professional island pool service for discharging water.
You just want a professional service,
Yeah.
period. Then they certainly don't have to be from the island.
No, that's correct. And pool companies typically do not provide water, and they don't provide the discharge of water.
My apologies, I'm
No,
kind of
it's-
just a layman trying to put
That's
out some
fine.
quick points.
That's fine.
Well, I think it's important, frankly, that we try to get these, I don't disagree or agree with anything you said, but this is probably going to be the template.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion, this is a case of first impression, so we probably need to focus more, not on this specific case, but coming up with guidelines.
Right.
Because we had another one submitted by a letter or an email today that's
Yeah.
almost, she has her own list
Right.
of things, which some are similar. But
Well, a lot of them, I do have that, do you mind if I use my phone to look up an email? I'm not playing words with friends, but,
Oh, I didn't ask before, sorry.
because I want to read an email that we received
It's a little
today.
on the late side.
Well, my phone died anyway, so
Here, I
forget
have
it.
it.
yeah, I have it.
I still think it's
I read
important to read
It was
them.
for-
Oh, no, it didn't die. I don't know what happened there. If you have it. feel
I
free to
I
read
just
it.
had it up. Oh.
But to your point, Jim, I agree. I think we need to be careful about just received. Okay. Dear Ms. Antonietti, if you allow this pool to be built, then there should be certain non-negotiable conditions. I'm sorry, this is from Elizabeth Sherwood. 1, the pool should be totally enclosed to control noise levels. We'll go over it after I read it. The pool and all equipment should be soundproofed. The lights within the pool and outside should meet environmental standards, downward casting. The water for the pool should not be drawn from the well, and it should be carted away. I'm now paraphrasing. If the ZBA cannot see how detrimental swimming pools would be in Nantucket, then there is no hope of preserving what was once a peaceful corner of the world. Thank you for taking the time to read my response regarding the application for a pool permit on Starbuck Road in Nantucket, Elizabeth Sherwood. So,
Number 1 seems a little,
I don't know.
They have to be enclosed by a fence.
yeah, I don't know exactly what that means to be totally enclosed in a bubble.
I thought it meant a building, which is not,
Yeah.
like it would be like,
Indoor
you know,
pool.
you have like an indoor pool.
Yeah, well,
that's not gonna
happen.
right.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, I misspoke. Regarding number 1 on your list, I said I was okay with it, with exception to the 25 decibels or less. Number 1, they're enclosing this pool equipment. It's going to be below grade, and it's going to be more than 20 feet from the property line. So I don't feel any need to control the decibel level of this pool
But
equipment.
what about for
But
future
for in
applications in
general.
general?
Well, this is going underground in a building.
For this
this
application,
one.
yeah.
75% of, the town doesn't require that the pool equipment be inside.
No, I know. I think we were talking about this becoming a
Yeah.
template for other applications, though, so just, I think we should talk about in general.
Yeah, I mean, is there a way that a working group could be created from Nantucket, and they come up with a list, and they kind of whittle that down?
I think we're getting the fruits of informal working groups.
Yeah.
Lighting, noise.
What are the?
Yeah, I mean, maybe this pool water non-discharge and removal should almost be addressed by the town.
It sounds
In a
like the Board of
bylaw,
Health.
I don't even know if it's a Nantucket specific thing. It almost should be a
The Board
warrant.
of
It should
Health
be a
is meeting
warrant.
on this next week.
Yeah, I would
And I
think
plan
this
on
should apply
discussing
to the
this
whole
with them,
island.
too.
Okay, well then why don't we table the notion of carting the water away? Wait to see what the Board of Health comes up with. If they're going to take the lead on that, more power to them.
But I would hope that whatever they decide in the future would kind of apply to any permits that you issue before they come up with their ruling. In other words, if we don't make it a condition that these pools not be allowed to discharge, I wouldn't want one of them to say,
we're kind of grandfathered because our pool was put in before the Board of Health came up with their regulation.
I hear you. I don't think we're going to vote on this today because I think we would be waiting for a lighting plan, which is seemingly a critical issue in Nantucket. And so I think we're going to wait for that at a minimum. So.
What about, is it possible to get any of the lighting regulations, Eleanor?
You can get them online.
Could you email them to us? And are there any noise regulations?
I'll send them to you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, John.
Mr. Chairman, through you, who's the lighting enforcement officer these days?
Who's the enforcement officer of?
It's either Leslie Snell
Is it?
or Mr. Silverstein.
Is it a zoning?
It may be worth chatting with them about this. If this, seeing as we're not going to come to a conclusion or a decision today, about if they have any sort of ideas relative to ensuring that if we do whatever is included in the decision or templates moving forward, that it is enforceable. That is something that they would be able to actually go out and measure and make sure it actually works from the town standpoint and from an enforcement standpoint.
The hope, John, is that when there is a condition put on that the applicant, I'm just so flummoxed I can't even think of the right, abides by those conditions, whether or not there is strong enforcement or not.
Agreed, Mr. Chairman.
We're not going to not impose a condition just because it's not going to be enforced. Or we're
Understood.
not confident that it's going to be enforced. Hopefully, the applicant would look at it and say, okay, I got relief. These are the conditions, I can live with it, and I'm going to do the right thing.
I think that makes sense. Just moving forward, it may be worth that conversation.
Okay, so.
I also want to look at the state EPA's regulations about this, about dechlorinating water and how it's discharged.
I think all the points are totally reasonable, and I don't see why we can't impose those conditions if, as a template, maybe not exactly as it's written here, just like we do with houses that are need shoring in town. You okay with that idea?
It's fine.
Yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been nice if this had been contemplated in the bylaw that put this, because this is sort of it's not a surprise that any of these issues are coming up, and it should have been addressed at the time that the restriction was.
Yeah, and that would be ultimately the best, because then you can reference it.
Right. I mean, I mean, it's a good opportunity to do it via this application, but I think it would have been much more efficient and a lot less frustrating for the applicant and for the other people in Nantucket, and frankly for us, because it's.
Yeah, I mean, because on the surface, there's certainly. This application, and I'm sure any others that we probably see, would meet the minimum requirements.
Right.
What we're trying to do, I think, is get beyond the minimum requirement. Yeah, it would have been nice if someone else had come up with that.
Well, I mean, just it makes sense in the bylaw, especially since
right.
The zoning district that it affects is what's VR, right? I mean, it seems like
That's beyond Nantucket.
It makes beyond Nantucket. There are other little areas, but it just would make sense that because of the zone, like that, these concerns are the concerns of any rural area.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So as not to totally reinvent the wheel, would you like us to also look at perhaps Conservation Commission decisions that address swimming pools, just to see what they've put as conditions?
That would be great.
Sure. More the merrier. Yeah, the lighting plan.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Did any? Go ahead.
My comments would also apply to the next item on your agenda, and in the sake of brevity, instead of me getting up again and going through it all again, this applies to that. And I just want to reiterate what I said before. I'm not here to object to swimming pools. I'm looking for some conditions, and I take to heart what council said about meeting the codes and the regulations of the town, which of course are the minimum requirements that need to be met. But I would also like the applicants to consider that the Nantucket area plan goes a step or two beyond that, and that has been adopted, and we are very adamant about maintaining the rural nature, country nature of Nantucket, and we're very concerned about our groundwater and surface water.
Okay, thank you. Sir, do you want to speak to this? Please.
Because I'm not going to go forward on my case, because I think what's going to happen is you're going to put together a comprehensive list that's going to be a template, so there's no point in my going forward until you do that. But I did, just in connection with this template that you're coming up with, wanted to point out just a couple of things. First of all, if the people in Nantucket didn't want pools, they should have said no pools like they did in the ROH and SOH districts. But they didn't. They made them by special permit. So
We're painfully aware of that.
So we should-
I'm just, are you sure that they didn't want to outlaw pools? And the planning board said, no, we're not going to approve
Well, I
it.
don't know. I
That's
mean,
what happened.
people,
That's-
citizens
Yeah.
put in articles all the time that
Yeah.
are passed. People come to town meeting all the time and argue for things that are different than what the planning board proposed. I mean, I just think it's a little bit ironic, but that's okay. We're here, it's a special permit, you're going to come up with templates.
Well, we
That's
could, but
terrific.
we-
But
I
we
mean-
also have all these other boards and commissions that have jurisdiction. For example, the Conservation Commission, which looks at not only the local but also state discharge of pool water. I'm going to give you a copy of a recent decision that has the pool conditions in it, because I think the Conservation Commission is dealing with those, and if you're going to have a template, it would be really nice if you were at least mirroring the Conservation Commission so that people were doing the same thing. And it is, the pool shall not be chemically treated between November 1st and May 1st. All chemical treatment shall stop 3 weeks prior to any draining or discharging. That's because once you stop after 3 weeks, it's gone. Pool shall not be drained or discharged to an area within commission jurisdiction. I understand you may also require it to be carted away, which is a different issue. I did want to point out, if you're going to require it to be carted away, it isn't just pool professionals, it's people who also have pump facilities like Hughes and Visco, and all the sewage pumping people have that capability. All lighting shall be directed downwards and away from the resource area, and all debris and or man-made material shall be removed from the resource area and the 25-foot buffer zone. So
Okay, why don't you submit that to us and,
I'm going to.
yeah.
Can I ask one question, though? That doesn't, just because this could be in a watershed district and not be within Concom jurisdiction.
Absolutely.
So I
That's
just
why I'm
want to.
suggesting that you should adopt their rules.
Right, but there's also other things that would go beyond it having to go to the Concom.
You know, we,
No,
just
but the
as
rules should be
a
the
side
same,
comment.
because
It's more.
they're looking at the water,
Yeah.
they're looking at the watershed when they're looking at their jurisdiction. If you're in an area outside of their jurisdiction, it's a lesser standard, but if you adopt the same rules, then you will have covered it.
Okay.
That's really,
Just to
that's,
be clear, we do not have to grant relief either. It's just, it is an option.
Well, I think they've met the minimum requirements
can I
of.
finish
I do too.
my comments?
Oh,
Or-
sorry,
Or are
wait.
you just saying that I can't comment anymore?
I thought you were done.
I thought you were done too, sorry.
I apologize.
Go ahead. Please.
Because ultimately, you'll have to listen to me at some point. I know
Well,
it's a-
we might
I
wanna
know it's a
listen to you at the
complete-
next meeting.
It's a complete bore, but, well, I just wanted to point out that we have a noise bylaw and a lighting bylaw. And everyone should be in compliance with those things. And if you make them as conditions, that's fine, but it's a redundance.
Thank
I just
you.
want to understand what they are.
Yeah, I'm kind of
And-
surprised you
and-
don't already know what they are,
Ar-
so.
Arguably, Sarah, could we be more stringent if we wanted to than
Of
those
course.
bylaws?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then that's
Yeah,
why we'd like to know what they are.
absolutely. Yeah.
So we wouldn't necessarily be redundant, is what I'm saying,
It would be redundant if you just said, meet the lighting bylaw.
clearly.
It's like saying,
Yes.
meet the building
Thank you.
code. or don't murder your neighbor.
Or someone else. Thank you. Would you like to speak?
Sure, if you're just going to continue it.
Well, I don't. Feel free to speak. Come up and introduce yourself, but hopefully you're not going to reiterate everything that's been said already.
No, I have some things to follow up on from last time. One is this issue of the wording, may versus shall.
Yeah.
And Ms. Antonetti sent me an email clarifying that over the weekend. Thank you. I forwarded that. I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand what that means.
Excuse me, time out. What is your name for
I'm sorry. Mark Palmer. I live at 308 Nantucket Road.
Thank you.
If you could put up the cadastral map, I would love for people to look at that because a lot of things can be explained about all of the houses on Nantucket Road. I'm at 308 are upside down houses, which means we have a second story and we look down on the properties that are 25 feet high. We see the roofs. So this pool will be literally in my backyard. And there's this lot at 3 Baltimore, which is deeded to be conservation land to preserve the view. It's owned by the town of Nantucket. I don't know where they are. And they're direct abutters. Myself, the Sherwoods, the people at 310, 312, 314 are all visual abutters. They all look down on this pool. And so all these issues about that Mr. Toole was raising are absolutely right. Those of us on Nantucket Road in these taller houses need, I really appreciate that you're putting up the shielding, but it would do nothing for people who are up at that higher elevation. And I'm not trying to be tedious about this. I'm not trying to be just obstructionist. If you were to come and stand on the back deck of any of those houses, you would immediately get it and say, oh, this is one of the most pristine views in Nantucket. It's been unspoiled for 94 since I had my house, and I'm new in the neighborhood. So, at night, if I took a picture, you'd just see black and stars. But this pool would disrupt maybe 20% of that view with a big luminous rectangle.
Okay, I think we get the light.
Okay, so I wanted to speak for a couple of the lighting thing. I'm really happy that's being addressed. That sounds awesome. As far as the sound, I think it might be wise to limit based on a decibel measurement because Nantucket is about 19 or 20 decibels. Okay, which is like listening to the whisper of the ocean. You can hear the ocean whispering.
I think that if the equipment is in an enclosed building, 20
okay,
feet away, I think, I'm talking specifically about this.
Well, 25 decibels is, I think, twice as loud as 20, and if you get a few of those, the noise of a pool is produced by cavitation through the pipes, not just by the pump. Putting the pump in a shed doesn't necessarily do the job. So why not? You have these apps that are free that you can measure the decibel. Why not just say, let's limit it to 25 decibels within 10 feet? I mean, that seems like a fair, objective criterion to me. So those are the two issues I directly wanted to speak to. And as far as the legal wording, I'm not a lawyer. I forwarded the email from Ms. Antonetti to 2 non-practicing lawyers. One is Maureen Phillips, another one is my neighbor. And they both said, I have issues with this may versus shall, and the ZBA shouldn't be the one to resolve those issues. They would like to see town council, give an opinion on the question of whether the ZBA has an obligation to approve every pool if it meets the setback requirements. So, also, the Sherwoods are my direct neighbors, and they say they were never notified as an abutter to this, and to their knowledge, the people at 314 weren't notified either.
Well, there should have been a list that was required and that you're given.
Yeah, I was notified. That's why I'm here.
They're just out of the
300 feet's not very long, not very far.
Yeah, so they might have just been out of the zone.
Here's the abutters list. Who are you? Which ones are you saying?
So 310 would be the Sherwoods. So I'm 308. I was notified. The Sherwoods who emailed you said they were not notified.
The 310 is not on this list.
Right. 312 is Mr. Chauval, and he was going to be here today. I think he may have emailed you, but he's a lawyer from Connecticut, and he had problems with the wording. But his house is low. Then 314 is an upside-down house, which has the same view problem. It's looking directly down on this pool, as my house does. And in addition, there is this tract at 3 Baltimore that separates all of these houses, gives us this beautiful, wild nature, beyond which we see a few roofs, and then we see the biggest swimming pool of all, the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, I have a question. I don't want to interrupt, but we can't spend too much more time on this.
Yep.
I have a question for you, similar to what Mr. O'Mara said. Why didn't the Nantucket group dig your heels in and get no pools?
I think it was what Mr. O'Mara said. They would have had to. I'm new. I'm on the MCA, Nantucket Conservation Association board. I'm speaking as a citizen, so I haven't been involved that long to know the history of it. But I remember hearing something that they would have had to create a new zoning district to get that wording in. Therefore, they went for the more broad wording. Because there could be many things which would violate the country nature.
I heard that they did want to outlaw pools, and the planning board was not going to endorse that. So the planning board, just to be nice to Nantucket, made an accommodation for them, did not outlaw pools in Nantucket, but it made it a couple of conditions. Number one, you had to have a conforming lot.
Right.
And you had to extend your setback.
To 20.
Correct.
I think the reason why they didn't do that is because the VR zone is also in Quidnet.
That's right.
So
That's
they would
what
have had
Leslie.
to create a new zone specifically for Nantucket, and they didn't want to do that. So that's why they made it a special permit.
Why couldn't they? I'm just curious.
They could have
Why
outlawed
not?
it in Quidnet too, but I don't think the neighbors maybe didn't want that. I'm not sure.
Well,
We're
the planning board
getting-
was not in favor of outlawing pools.
Right.
But they could still put that forward at town meeting, and even if it's not endorsed, it can still pass, right?
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
So,
According to Sarah,
If I
wait
may
a minute,
address
George.
your comment, it's pretty much dead on. A lot of compromising and whatnot goes into these things, and many of us were comfortable with the fact that there would be a special permit required, which would allow us the opportunity to speak to these specific issues. And I don't think there was much impetus toward trying to ban swimming pools, but we certainly could put in a citizen's article to that effect. But that's not our intent. Our intent here today is to try to see if you would consider imposing on special permits some conditions. And we're not here to argue shall, may, whatever. If you shall issue a permit, you also may attach to that conditions.
Yeah, we're aware. Thank you. I think it sounds like we're going to continue. Somebody else wants to speak. Okay, my bad.
I'm Ken Lindsay. I live at 7 Starbuck Road. I also own 318 Nantucket Road. And I have a picture of that property that I'd like to submit that is arguably the abutter to the abutter. The piece of land known and numbered as 3 Baltimore is soon to be owned by the Nantucket Land Trust. Okay, and this property abuts that property. You can clearly see the applicant's property from this photo, from this drone shot. I have known the applicants since 1981, and I have worked for them. I am a real estate broker. So I have no issue with the application whatsoever.
You have no. I'm sorry. I got a little.
That's all right.
He's speaking in.
I have no issue with this application.
What is this a picture of? 318.
318 Nantucket Road.
This is your house.
That's correct.
And the
Excavation is 19/21 Starbuck Road.
Okay, and you're in a butter to an abutter?
Correct.
Is the abutter a vacant lot?
Yes.
Conservation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll make that part of the record. Someone
So
pass
this
one
is
down.
this is the construction site?
Yeah. And this is the
Elizabeth,
land
do you
trust
want
land.
these
Right,
stamped
okay.
ones back from the HTC or whatever? Received?
And
Yeah,
so,
I'll give you
so
one.
this is like where the pool is going to be?
That's the original stamp. You don't want it?
Yeah.
All right.
And
Excellent.
here's, I was going to give you this
In
picture.
the color
also
copy
the-
they make? You have those?
You have this. Okay.
All right. So,
Yeah. The pool would be where
it
it's
sounds
going.
to me like we'd like to continue this, yes? And maybe get some greater clarity on a few of the issues. Maybe get a specific to this plan, a lighting plan, and I would certainly like the applicant to consider planting on the north side too, so that people cross the way, even though Mr. Lindsay doesn't mind, maybe other people do. Shielding the pool on that side too. Please consider.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
No, I'm finished.
I just wanted to make one comment on the landscaping. Is it possible to include all non-invasive species in there? I mean, to me, it's, well, I thought there is one here, but that it's even worse than the pollution from the water. But it's a bigger environmental hazard, possible.
All right, that's fair.
The neighbor to the north, if we put really big things, their view to the water might be impeded, so that's why we were trying to keep the building around.
Who's the neighbor to the north, Elizabeth? Isn't that the conservation
I
land?
think their building, I mean, their view is probably pretty well impeded by the building, not the pool.
One side we have all the viburnum and talking behind the cabana.
No, I'm talking about here.
He's talking about north.
Okay.
You're talking about to the, what I would call east.
Okay, we can
She's calling it north.
Yeah.
Can you just do a simple site section through the,
And can we
The grade?
go back to our client and tell him that at the next meeting, it is likely that we will be able to conclude this meeting
No.
positively?
No. I mean, you can tell him. Feel free. I wouldn't.
Are there
We're asking you for additional material, which we will not have a chance to review, and arguably until a few days before that meeting. So it may or may not be satisfactory to us.
Shall.
Shall or shall not?
shall or shall not.
Wait, so were you just asking her, Elizabeth, for a...
A site section to show the different tiers of the walls and their
Okay,
heights.
right,
And the pool heights.
And a lighting plan, and
Right.
And who's going to provide the relevant information from the town bylaw?
Eleanor.
Eleanor's going to get that?
Right. I think she said she would. Thank you.
well, why don't we put it on the applicant to do that? Why should Eleanor
Yeah.
be?
Well, somebody
That-
has to do it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do so.
Yeah.
Now, is there any reason to get Leslie back here for further clarification of what the intent was?
I think she was pretty
I thought
clear
she was
last
clear.
She was pretty clear.
Okay, I thought so too, but from what I've seen today, I'm not so sure. If maybe I heard something that differently than everyone else.
Could you ask town council? Is that
Oh,
something-
I think that's a different issue.
Oh,
that
not
he's
the shall,
talking
but.
about.
What
No,
are
no,
you-
I'm,
Are you talking shall and may?
that was
Then I
part
would
of
ask
it.
town
There's
council.
no
I'm
question.
happy to talk to town council.
Yeah.
about
Let
that.
me just add to that, the Supreme
ahead.
Court has actually addressed
Yeah.
shall.
Yeah, okay.
And they have determined in a case that shall, appearing in statutes, means may.
Yeah, okay.
Because shall is, it's one of the most litigated words in contract law.
It did not seem
It doesn't-
to be made. I mean,
Contrary to what we learn in law school.
Right, I didn't think it was must.
Where it
initially,
almost
but-
means must, you know,
Yeah.
that's how we're taught.
But when she brought up that it had been changed to shall, it made it sound like it was changed for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Well, it probably was
From
changed
May.
for a reason, but not, the reason didn't necessarily have to be, we didn't get the rest of the background
Right.
that it meant must.
Right.
Right, so I think,
Anyway, I'm happy to talk to Alan about that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for that.
All right?
Okay, so should I make a motion to continue this until December 14th?
Please. Michael, you're going to...
Fine with me.
You going to second it?
I'll second that.
All right.
All those in favor? Oh, wait, you're going so slow.
Oh, my.
No, I think it's a hint.
maybe
More
Lisa
chocolate.
wants
Any
your
further
job.
discussion?
No, I don't.
No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wow.
Thank
All
you.
right.
And then, so on the next
I'm
one.
not sitting
I
on the
know.
next one,
So
but are
you're
you
gonna
just
save this one for
continuing
next
it?
time?
I'm going to give it to Eleanor. She has it.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So we'll just make a motion to, will somebody make a motion to continue that one?
I'll make a motion to continue.
Can we make a
Sarah's.
suggestion about maybe thinking about the same information? Okay. Okay, so there's been a motion to continue, I don't even know what the case is, I don't have the agenda in front of me.
Somebody in
Hold
the
on, I
audience
have
wants
it.
to speak about the next one?
Oh, okay.
3417.
All right, I'm not sitting on 3417, just to be clear, so I will remove myself, so.
Okay, 2417, right?
But there's a gentleman.
3417.
3417, okay.
So, have at it.
Do you want to make a comment regarding the continuance?
Yes,
Can you come down to the microphone, please?
continuing until the 14th, but it appears that the action deadline was the 13th? That can be changed. So what would that be changed to?
Well, the applicant was left, but we would then get an extension filed with town clerk, and, yeah, the same goes for, for him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the, I'll extend it beyond the next hearing, probably January 11th, possibly, which is the hearing date anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wanted to speak regarding 3417?
There is somebody in the back.
Okay. Just about the continuance.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi, Mary Ann Hagley. I'm in a butter, 229 Nantucket Road. This is my third time here. I'm not going to be here January 11th. So what do I do? How do I tell you that I don't want this?
I would write a letter.
Give me an email too. Write a letter, email.
Okay.
Just make sure you get something to Eleanor in advance so they can put it back in.
I already sent one letter, so I guess would it be the same letter I just send again? I mean, kind of annoying, but
Excuse me.
okay.
Did we continue this to January or December?
December.
December, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said January.
Yeah,
No,
December.
that's the action
Oh,
deadline.
okay. Oh, so December 11th?
December 14th.
Oh, December 14th. Okay.
Okay.
Number 4 better be a charm.
Okay. So do we have a motion? I think you made a motion to continue it?
Yeah.
Second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not sitting on this next one.
Neither am I.
I need to make a call because my kids get out of school.
It's old business still. I'm not on it.
I just gotta get some, pick up my kids.
Oh, I thought you did.
So,
Oh, we're going to take a little break, I think. Susan is sitting on the next one. She has to go make a quick phone call.
Nice job, man.
You know
Nice
what?
work. Nice work.
Anytime you want to take over, you feel free. Mr. Thayer. Anytime. Anytime. Sure? Okay.
I remember sitting around and hearing everything. That's why it's like, that's why when you saw that,
There you go.
Sorry to interrupt. You're not sitting on Hunters, right?
Oh, is that next?
Yeah, that's what's coming up.
Okay, yeah.
So the way it shows is that I'm not on there, but I am sitting on it apparently. So just put a little correction in there. And you're wrong about this not being the longest meeting for you. I don't have to move with you. You know what? It's like if I could have a longer leg, I'd kick you in the dick.
You and O'Mara.
She's sort of disappointed. Yes, the reason we're doing this is because of and then it was just like
I was working at a law firm in Hartford, Connecticut.
But no one understood it because Wendy gets up and Bobby.
I had to request the help. It was when I re-recognized it was only 2 stages, so it wasn't
So just been clear. You have to be outside and sit.
You ate all the cake? That was one.
I had one piece. One piece.
All right, you're supposed to sign.
I only
signing
have
two very small pieces.
I'm not signing that thing. I haven't read it.
It's the I sent this to you.
Oh, rugged.
It's just so that they've been really much waiting for me. I'm sorry.
You always say this, and then I got in trouble for something I signed. And
I vetted this
they
stuff.
put it right in.
100%
You
vetted.
saw that letter.
100% vetted.
Basically said Ed signed that application from Mary Ann. And I had to bite my tongue and said, yeah, I was relying on my ace administrator. Look at her scavenging.
I thought.
No, I had
only
one
had,
piece.
Well, I think I might have had 2.
Lisa had 4
I didn't know.
I
It was
saw her.
gone by the time it got to me.
Can I ask you a question?
Well, they didn't like Pool Service at that house. You know,
They what?
I fired them. Pool Service.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I didn't know he.
I mean,
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah.
That's.
You know,
it's nothing. Yeah.
No, I know. I mean, I could have, but if we had to rest anyway, I mean, it would have been better for continuity.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys gotta get going. You got a lot of
That
big
looks like
agenda.
tools work right there.
No, you know,
You eating chocolate?
I ate one piece.
You ate one piece and you got some of it on here.
I thought it was for. I thought it was given. I thought it was for.
Hey, Eleanor. Are we going in
peace?
Are we going into executive session? Okay. Okay.
I swear to God.
Lisa's holding things up.
I swear to God. Please.
If
this
Lisa's holding things up.
Ed, if this thing goes past 5 o'clock, you're going to witness the first murder in a police station on this island.
I went to 8:45 one night. Bill Sherman was the chairman.
Yeah, we used to go late all the time.
But I
That
think.
doesn't mean
And
it
then
was
the
right.
chairman
Friday
would take
night.
everybody
Friday
out.
night.
Sherman actually
I'm not
used to
doesn't
bring.
mean it was right.
Sherman used to bring food, right?
Well, go out for dinner once a year. Party.
Not when O'Mara was the chairman. I never got a free dinner out of him. Never.
I think it's a payback.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Hello.
All right, let's go.
I'm not sure I can do this there. What I can do is scan, email scan this image is fine.
What's going on?
Email it to me, I'll sign it, I'll get it scanned, and I'll send it back to you. But that, well, she already has a check. Yeah, she's got a check for $55,000. Yeah, it won't be till tomorrow morning. Okay, great. Thanks, Richard. No, that's okay. I'll probably go to Cape Cod 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that, no, you give it time to work.
So guess who reached out to me?
Kind of the curative statute, 10 years is a violation. But do you get, would it come before us?
If somebody wanted to change, make an alteration in the portion,
25K?
portion structure.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right.
Do you want to write a check? Sign it and give it to him? Thank you. Oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
She said just if they're doing an alteration. So it would be basically, it's deemed, yeah, but any alteration after that. The building permits.
What if something, that one's easy.
I didn't know you guys were related by marriage.
Related by marriage, yeah.
Thank God I looked at the clock. I was forgotten my kids at school. Spaced on that.
I don't think so. I think the language there, I'll reread it. It's all under MGL.
And then does it go back, or is it 10 years from now will be the first ones that come out?
If you pull the building permit, also, there has been a non-conformance as a result of it.
From 10 years ago? Is that
10 years
now
from
that
the time you pulled the permit.
Yeah, so say something came force.
Tomorrow.
Is it going to be, the first case is going to be coming up 10 years from the day we passed it? Or does it go back?
I think it goes back to the day of
So
birth.
there is no. Yeah, so something that was built.
Arthur could actually probably clarify.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right.
I like Arthur.
This should have been over. Got out of control.
And then just this starting. So it goes retroactive. It's retroactive. Yeah, I know it's state law. Right.
That was my point. This is German. Nobody can hit me.
Well, I can't figure out what the hell he's doing.
Sugar. You gotta just infuse them.
Really in existence in 1972 and was exactly the same structure, and all these things come up.
So it's the same.
So, yeah.
We should start this next hearing. Ed and Lisa are not sitting. so
Okay.
I forget who chaired it.
I think I did.
I had that Ed was sitting on it, but I guess that's not right.
Yeah, Eleanor, I believe I'm the one sitting on this. Ed recused himself.
Okay.
Bill made mention of that as well.
So Ed's not sitting on Hunter,
So, oh yeah.
but Karen is.
I think it's Jim, Karen, Michael, Susan, and me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one stuff.
And I think I'm
Oh, okay.
sharing it. What page is it?
Are you guys back in?
I think so. Yeah. I'm just trying to look for the number.
David, it's nice to meet you.
3617.
Okay, so we're going to open 3617 Juliet Farlow Hunter, 97 Sankaty Road for the applicant.
Yes, thank you. Bill Hunter for the applicant. So we were continued from last month. I think at least one, maybe a couple of the commissioners wanted to gather a little information and sort of settle things in their minds. And so we continued. I'll just give you a brief outline of what happened here. This is a piece of property at 97 Sankaty Road. It's in the LUG 3 zoning district. 97 is undersized, about 103,000 square feet in a district that requires 3 acres. The property was bought in 1961 by the applicant's father, and he bought at the same time 84 Baxter Road, and they abutted. Mr. Farlow put them into a life insurance trust, bought them in 1966, put them into trust, and then he died. And they, in the trust, in 1972, when the zoning bylaw was adopted, nobody ever had the opportunity to try to separate title, and the conditions of the trust didn't allow and this was actually noted in previous zoning board hearings, didn't allow for the separation of the titles. In 1991, David Moretti, I think, came in and got a variance for this property and for 84 Baxter Road, which separated the two properties with certain conditions, one of which was 1,355 square feet of ground cover on each property. On the 97, it was 1,355 square feet of ground cover. Couldn't build any closer than 50 feet from the wetland, and no second dwelling. I came in 1999 on behalf of Juliet and myself and asked for the ground cover to go up to 2,500 square feet, which the board agreed to. So the current variance for this property allows for 2,500 square feet, no more than, which is less than you would normally get on a lot this size in a Lug 3, multiplied by the ground cover ratio. Still no building closer than 50 feet from the wetland, and no second dwelling. And what we're asking for, what we've asked for, is to be able to calculate ground cover based on 103,000 square feet, times the ground cover ratio, which is about an additional 650 plus or minus, I think, square feet. Be able to have a second dwelling and eliminate the zoning requirement that we build no closer than 50 feet from the wetland. And the only reason for that is because the Conservation Commission, and the wetland regulations and the State Wetland Act have jurisdiction over that, and based on those regulations, you can't build any closer than 50 feet from the wetland. So it's a redundant matter for the Zoning Board of Appeals to have jurisdiction over that. It just seems silly to us, and I know in the last hearing that we just sat through, it was acknowledged by the board that some of the conditions that were brought up by the abutters in Nantucket were acknowledged to be essentially beyond the jurisdiction of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I think everybody gets that. I don't know that it makes sense for the Zoning Board of Appeals to worry about a 50-foot wetland buffer when the Conservation Commission has that right in their wheelhouse. So that's the long and the short of it. Would like to have a second dwelling. Would like to increase the ground cover, only to the extent allowed under the bylaw. And would like to see the 50-foot requirement dropped, really just as a housekeeping matter, because that's all really it is. It's a housekeeping matter. And beyond that, I'm not sure that I want to take up too much more time of the board. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and look forward to a resolution of this today.
What's up?
Does anyone on the board have any comments?
Mr. Reed would like a word.
Okay.
Thank you, Arthur Reed. As you know, I represent several abutters and near property owners. Since the last meeting, the hunters have reached out through me to my clients, explained this situation more fully, responded to a number of questions and concerns that my clients have had. And on the basis of that, my clients and I want to enthusiastically support the application. We withdraw our objections. We are very happy to be able to support all of the relief that that Bill has just described that they're asking for. I hope you'll grant it. Thank you.
Sounds good to me.
Me too.
I think that the country could probably benefit from having the two of you.
Yeah, nice work, guys.
On a few of our treaties.
I think that Bill and I could work very well together to make this a better place.
Very
yes.
good.
very true.
Well, Mr. O'Meara, maybe you want to give away your plane and fly these guys right out to North Carolina, North Korea, or China.
So any further discussion, or anyone else in the audience wish to speak about this one?
Make a motion to approve the application as requested and with the, I guess, the housekeeping, the 50-foot.
Yeah.
Basically,
Removal.
he's amending, modifying the conditions by rescinding two of them, rescinding one of them and modifying them.
Yes, that's right, I think.
Okay.
That's what was requested.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Unanimous. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Great.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Roger.
You're a magician.
Okay, just thinking I'll be that quick.
Does anyone have conflicts on the new business? Anyone? Where did I do my staff report?
Are you going to bail out?
Well, I was going to, but because I was supposed to be going away, but I'm not going anymore.
All right. I'm going to.
I gave my childcare the day off, thinking that I wasn't going to need her.
Yeah. All right, we good? Oh, no.
Yeah, I just can't
Where's
find my
Ellen?
staff report.
Is Lisa with us still?
Yeah, she's not sitting on this for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, we ready? Eleanor?
Where are we at here? Is this?
That's old. That's trash.
Yeah. 3717, John A. Van Hoven and Lee Van Hoven, 46 Hooper Farm Road, for the applicant. Mr. or Ms. Van Hoven here? No, okay, we're going to skip them for a minute.
Was he here?
No, I don't see the old host list. No. I haven't met him, he submitted the application when I was there, exchanged emails.
Okay, well,
I did notify him the agenda and when he was to be heard, but I
you're not
didn't
sitting on
didn't realize he was here.
yeah.
No, because we weren't people.
Oh, okay.
You can move forward without that.
Yeah,
I don't like
I
to
don't
do
think
that.
that's done very often.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. So, okay, so why don't we just continue it? Okay? Michael makes the motion to continue 3717 to December 14th,
Unless he shows up,
2017.
sometimes you have, when the board decides.
Well, then we won't do it until the very end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, just
Moving on. 3817 Linda A. Mason, trustee Linda A. Mason, amended and restated revocable trust agreement, owner, and David B. Cheever, applicant, 23 Monomoy Road. Michael and Lisa are conflicted. So, for the applicant, fire away.
Good afternoon. Kenneth Gullickson for the applicant, David Cheever, who's present today. This is a pre-existing non-conforming lot because it is undersized. It has a pre-existing non-conforming house, and then it is over the ground cover ratio. The proposal is to remove the existing house, which is about 1,810 square feet, and replace it with another dwelling of approximately 1,800 square feet, so slightly smaller. We would like to also add a garage of 336 square feet, which would be an increase in ground cover of a net 326 square feet. We would be willing to propose that the garage be allowed in lieu of the 200 square foot shed that would otherwise be permitted as a matter of right. So we're really only asking for an additional 126 square feet for the existing conditions. The existing house, in addition to being over ground cover, is in the front yards, encroaches upon the front yard setback as well as the side yard setback. The new dwelling would conform with all setback requirements as with the garage. I'm sure you're aware of the standard for replacement of a non-conforming dwelling would be simply, is it more detrimental to the neighborhood? Again, it's slightly smaller. outside of the setbacks, so I don't think there'd be any justification for finding that it is more detrimental. Finding for the expansion would be the same. Is it more detrimental to the neighborhood? Is it in the character of the neighborhood, and does it comply with setbacks? Character of the neighborhood, the analysis that was submitted, I don't know if you remember, there was a prior application that was withdrawn for this property with another applicant. Analysis of the neighborhood showed that 60% of the houses in the neighborhood have a larger ground cover than what we're proposing. So this is smaller than average for the neighborhood. So I would suggest that it fits within the character of the neighborhood. Be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I don't remember the math working out quite like that. Did it in the applicant's favor? That last applicant, I mean, we went over this at length, multiple meetings, and I thought we were pretty clear then that they weren't going to get additional ground cover.
If we were clear that they weren't going to get additional ground coverage, we talked about what they proposed was excessive, we thought, and we also talked about the zoning shed. We didn't feel the zoning shed was appropriate on that lot, in addition to all that excess ground coverage.
Was this the two-story shed?
Yeah.
It was
No.
It's just a,
Okay, that's not how I remember it. I'd have to.
Two-story house.
it was a big two-story house.
Downsizing to a bigger house.
I'm sure if you may remember very well, but the prior application, which we were not involved with, my client was not involved with, was for a significantly larger house than what is existing and what we are proposing.
Well, I certainly don't mind the large house and the zoning, the 200-foot zoning shed. Why should you get more ground cover? You're already over now. I mean, that was the primary argument. What is the compelling reason other than you want it? It's already. I know that the bylaw states that if you're already over, you can ask for more, but I just don't see I personally don't see the reason for it. But I mean, you get the house fits, the house looks great. Put a 10 by 20 shed on there, and we're good.
The criteria is detrimental, fits in the character, and applies to the setbacks. Again,
I think it's detrimental. I think, again, I don't think that if for no other reason, it's stating to everybody that you don't have to adhere to the ground cover ratio. Just come to the ZBA. So I think that's detrimental. It's basically, I mean, it's not the same application, but it's pretty similar in terms of wanting excess ground cover. But anyway, I'm only one person. How does everyone else feel about it?
I don't feel as strongly about it as you do, Ed.
Well, where do you draw the line, I guess, is my question. Why not ask for 50% ground cover? I mean, obviously, then you're not going to get it. I get it. But it just seems to me there's a lot, you should meet the new house. It's a new project. You can do what you need to do within the 1,810 square feet, plus a zoning shed, another 200. So, but anyway.
I agree with you. I think it's more detrimental in this particular area, in this context, to increase the ground cover.
Carol?
When I said I concur, then
I didn't hear you, so I just wanted to be clear. Susan, how are you feeling?
I'm in agreement with you guys. It's not as, it's not as big of a project as the application that came before us in 2016. But I don't think, you don't need a garage, and going over ground cover, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Did you want to speak?
I'm allowed.
Absolutely.
I'm David Cheever. I live on Woodbury Lane now in the summer. I plan to retire here. Been fortunate enough that I can do that. I plan on coming here for 9 months out of the year. And, as living year-round means getting away for a couple of months, I think, is the rumor. I would like a garage. And I don't want to pretend a storage shed is a garage like a lot of people tend to do. I read the minutes, it seemed to me we were at, or Linda, the mason, the prior applicant, was around 2,300 feet. I talked in the zoning office. It seemed like everyone was like, well, that's a little crazy, and everyone also knew that she was planning a storage shed at some point. That's what, it just seemed excessive. At this point, we're looking at the footprint of 1,800, which is okay with you guys. Storage shed is 200 square feet. I'm looking for 130 additional, not 500 additional, which is, I understand why you guys said no. This is 130 extra feet of ground cover with open space next to me, a huge wetland area next to me, and the neighbor with a $10 million house and a 3-story garage right next to it. So, to me, it fits in the neighborhood, and it's 100 and some odd feet, not 500 feet. I read your minutes notes. I agree with you guys, absolutely. I just think it's a reasonable request for somebody who would like to park a car underneath, whatever, figure out how to do it, and have a garage so I can live here more than 4 months that I do now. I've worked very hard to get here. I'd like to have a great place. That's why I wanted to buy, so I could see the ocean, have a house, and have a place to park, and do odd jobs. It seems reasonable, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. My only comment to that, if it's 130 square feet, cut it off the house. It's not that much. I mean, you could shrink a few walls by 6 inches here and there, and 130 feet disappear, and you don't need relief. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not going to try to parse the 1,800, I don't think, on you.
But removing a few feet from the foundation doesn't put it into the garage. I then have to go 1,500 square foot house, 300-foot garage. That's not moving a few inches. You get to 1,800 and have a 300-foot garage.
Good point. Don't think I'm going to see my way to it, but.
Right. So I get what you're saying about the storage shed, is allowed, and that's 200, and so you're only asking for 100. But I imagine if we were to see our way to do something like this, we would put a condition on that there's no storage shed. But if we gave you this, you would still be able to have the 200 square foot storage shed. So even though you're saying, oh, well, it's only 136 square feet, it really is.
Well, he would give up his right to.
No, I know, but I'm saying it's sort of apples and oranges. Like the storage shed by right is to give someone a place for storage to do odd jobs or have a little work, or whatever you want to do in there. But a garage that's a different animal.
I agree with you. It's a totally different animal, but it's reasonable.
And I think we've been pretty consistent about not allowing additional ground cover in a situation like this for requests that have been even less. I mean, maybe my memory is.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
I think we've held a pretty hard line on that. Even for things that have asked for a lot less than this. So I don't think I'm inclined to change my mind. But I'm just one person, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like, I also would like to have a garage.
Me too.
I totally understand why, but if you were here, I don't know if you were here for one of the one on Eel Point, and that gentleman also
Yes.
wanted a garage, and I understand that there is a need, but at the same time, we kind of got to stick to our guns on this, because it could also potentially open up a floodgate for other people.
Yeah.
I'm still.
And, again, we're a regulatory board, so we follow what the regulations are. So if there was if the bylaw said something different, then our interpretation or our ability to do something, to make a different decision.
But bylaws allow you to do it if it's reasonable and if it doesn't affect the neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
So it is reasonable and it doesn't affect the neighborhood, in my opinion.
In your opinion, right. But
And
in
can
our,
you say it affects the neighborhood?
I think it, as Kiram said, I think it opens a door for other people to come in asking for similar things, and we have held a pretty hard line of not allowing.
Then should the
and-
bylaws be changed to not be reasonable? Don't ever do it?
That would work for us. Then we wouldn't have to be here.
Yep.
So, I mean.
So if you want to spearhead that effort, we're in.
I mean, I think we have, if it was,
You know, in reading the prior minutes, it seemed like that it was close. They were close, but if they had come in at 2,100 feet instead of 2,300, or 2,000 feet instead of 2,300, they were, when you read the prior minutes for Linda Mason's project. So to me, I said, okay, how can I do this and move forward and get something that I'm looking for? 1,800, I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to fix some things that are wrong with this property. And all I'm looking for is, okay, you get 10 by 20. Let's just make it a little bit bigger so that it's and not pretend it's something it's not. People
You can park
pretending
the
these
car
sheds-
in the shed. There's nothing that precludes you from parking the car in the 10 by 20 shed. There's no pretending. You can put the car in there. It's just not as big as you'd like. As Kiram said, I mean, I'd like more ground cover for my property, but
And so the 100 square feet is not reasonable. It's unreasonable.
you're already over by 300.
right, it's.
So you want another bite at the apple. That's what's unreasonable as
Right.
far as I'm concerned.
But
the
it's
max-
already.
Split
it's
the
10 feet
1,800
less
up
than the
however
18.
you want.
It's 10 feet less than the 18 that's there.
10 feet.
I'm
That
just
was
saying.
big. You're right. It is 10 feet smaller. I don't think that. Anyway.
Could we have just a moment before you
Sure.
proceed? If, permission of the chair, we'd like to withdraw that portion of the application that requests the garage relief and just proceed as to the house.
So just the section 139-33A4 part portion, you want to demolish it and rebuild it.
We want the relief to demolish or remove, it may be removed, the existing dwelling and replace it with the 1,800 square foot dwelling, as shown on the plans, eliminating it from the setback, and withdraw the portion of the application that requests relief to build the garage.
Works for me. Everybody else?
Mhm.
Okay. So just to be clear, again, you're withdrawing the portion of the excess ground cover. You're really only asking for the relief as it relates to 139-33A4, which reads the removal and reconstruction of any or all of the pre-existing non-conforming structures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Correct?
Replaced by an 1,800 square foot new dwelling.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You get the 1,800.
Yes.
Okay. So
Make a motion to approve that part of the application as requested.
Okay.
Come back with a two-story shed.
And withdraw the other one, and
I guess, Eleanor, how do we move forward on that?
Your motion would be to approve the withdrawal of one part.
Mhm.
The second motion would be to approve the remaining relief pursuant to section 139, 33A4.
And we don't have to vote separately on those items.
I think you probably should.
Yeah, we can, so the first one is section 139-33A2, right? The one about extension, blah, that's the one that they're withdrawing.
Okay, so do we want to vote on that one first?
Sure.
So I'll make a motion to approve the withdrawal as mentioned.
We'll put that in as someone said, not layman's terms, but legal terms. Okay, Eleanor?
Karen made that motion?
Yes. Specifically, that there will be no ground cover over, no excess ground cover, no detached garage. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that was Karen's motion, so who wants to second that one?
I will.
Susan seconds it. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so then the second portion was the one pursuant to 139-33A4, which means you can take down the house and not lose your grandfathering, basically, in layman's terms. So,
I'll make the motion to approve the application as requested.
Second.
with regard to that paragraph.
Correct.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Jim, we all clear on that?
Yep.
Yes.
Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I gotta just send a text to Ilana Cork, just so she knows I haven't forgotten her.
Why?
Because I wanted her to be part of the executive session.
Oh.
I was asking her. Yeah, no.
Do you have food being brought in?
I should delegate that.
You have to do it for the audience, though, too.
At the HDC sometimes they have like a little buffet set
Yeah,
up.
buffet. All right, let's be
Yeah,
quiet.
Is that your chocolate?
I had one piece of chocolate. Lisa had.
I had two. I had 2 squares.
I think you got
lie.
a piece on this chair, just so you know.
It's nowhere near there. 3917. Anthony Fanning and Susan Fanning, 81 Tom Nevers Road, J.D. Bessie for the applicant.
Hi, Lori Geddes, office manager for J.D. Bessie, for the applicants. This lot is an undersized lot of record. What happened when the masons went to pour the foundation for the stairs going to the basement, there was a line. The concrete was poured outside of the line instead of inside of the line, which caused 10 square feet in overage of ground coverage. The cost to fix this would be astronomical, and so we are asking for relief of the 10 feet. And we'd also like to note that that did not make any additional living space.
Well, it must have made additional living space because it was a wall of the house that
Right.
moved, not the
No.
cellar access.
The cellar access wouldn't count as ground coverage.
It did. It has to because,
The cellar access isn't ground cover.
right. I mean, I'm not saying it's a huge deal, but I'm just saying it would have created that extra 10 feet. Otherwise, it wouldn't count because the cellarway doesn't count. Jeffrey, you asked me if I can sit on this because
Because your brother Michael's in a butter.
Oh, my brother Michael's in a butter? Oh, no, I shouldn't sit on this. I'm sorry. I didn't see it. I did not
He's
see
number
that.
1 on the list.
Well, I didn't read it
I'm
either.
teasing. I'm teasing.
I did ask if I was in a butter. What? You sent me specifically that you couldn't just say, Ed, your brother is in a butter?
Ed, go get another piece of chocolate.
Yeah.
Go get us some food.
Could you get 2, please?
There, we're supposed to vent.
Never made it past Michael.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Lisa?
Okay.
What's that?
Who was the
Yeah,
surveyor?
I have to apologize because when I came to this meeting today, I didn't even know I was speaking on this property.
Well,
So I am ready for another property, but I didn't. I thought it was being represented by an attorney. So,
Are you here? Brusher's here.
I represent Mr. Fanning in his purchase. I helped him prepare the application, but I strongly recommended that Mr. Bessie present the application so he could explain what existed. But as it relates, as I understand it, it was the overage in the ground cover. The foundation was poured on the wrong side, and I believe it's basically 8 inches.
What was the
on the side of the
proposed
wall.
ground coverage?
1,500 exactly. They were cutting it close.
and who pinned the foundation? Paul, did you pin the foundation?
Yes, for the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors, the surveyor record for the project. So we were hired by J.D. Bessie. We staked the foundation for excavation, we staked the footing, and we pinned the footing, all in compliance with the plan. So I don't know what happened between when the nails were on the footing to what constructed. And obviously, it was 8 inches along that wall. They went it appears they went on the wrong side of the pins, and it was 8 inches extra, and along that length, it created the 10 extra square feet. It's just one wall, and it's the wall at the stairwell to the basement.
So you had pinned it properly.
Oh, it was pinned properly.
And it was poured correctly everywhere else that it was pinned except for this one
Correct.
area? That's weird.
Sounds like a coffee
Who's the
break.
foundation contractor?
I am not sure who it was.
So would this be a variance?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, I'd like to hear from somebody who, I mean, no offense to you, but if you didn't know you were speaking, it's not your fault. But I would personally probably want to hear why in just this one area they thought that they were supposed to pour on the outside instead of on the inside when they did
I'm sure
it.
that, I don't want to speak for the contractor or the mason, but I guarantee that whoever was getting paid did not do it intentionally. However, it's a serious mistake made. To put a form on the wrong side of an exterior point.
When you're at 1,500 square
Just
feet.
doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't,
It just seems like if it had been done all around, or if it just seems odd to me that this was built
Who
right
was
to
the
the ground
designer
cover
of the house,
max and
Paul?
just this one area that this happened.
You know?
Just going to 1,500 is pretty dangerous.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They were going right to the edge and then went over, and it's not a problem that was like a consistent problem in the project. It was just in this one little spot.
Do you know who the designer of the
Yeah,
house
Brooke
was?
Merbegan.
Merbegan?
Brooke was the, it was, the building was designed at 1,500 square feet. So, and just, so Susan, just try to explain what typically the process on how these typically work with the surveying goes. Because no one does anything now, or shouldn't do anything without the surveyor, but, so typically we'll come out, we'll stake stakes so they can dig the hole. We come back and put stakes in the ground so they can put the footing in. And then we come back and put an actual nail at the corner of the footing. So when they go out there, they're going to be right on because the nail will be here. They'll butt the footing here to here, and we'll still see our nails, and the concrete will be on the inside of it. So where this occurred was as you came around the building wall, there was a stairwell, and it's just along. I think it was 8 inches. It was the wall was a 3-foot bump out. If you go out there now, it's 3 foot 8 inches. And it occurred at the stairwell. So I'm assuming the stairwell is what caused the problem. Like I said, I don't know anything, but that's where it did occur. There was an additional wall after where the pins were, where the stairwell was
Was
too.
the stairwell
that's here.
poured at the same time?
It should have been poured at the same time, and I'm sure we probably pinned the stair. I'm assuming we pinned that
8
too.
inches narrower than it was supposed to be?
That I don't know.
Can we check that?
There is a provision in the bylaw that if you pin the footing and have the foundation shot right after it's constructed, and you register that plan with the building inspector, and it turns out later that there's a mistake, you can apply for, you can come in here for a special permit.
As
rather
opposed to a
than-
variance, because the variance standard is
Yeah,
hard
it's
to meet.
amazing, it's surprising
Yeah, more
how
people
few
don't do that.
people do that, especially the people that are going to the max.
Mm-hmm. It seems like it would make sense
It
to
would
do
make a lot
it.
of sense. Because they wouldn't always catch the issue.
Right.
But eventually, somebody's going to.
Somebody's going to notice,
Right.
they're going to be like, wow, this room is 8 inches longer than we
Yeah.
thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it this right here?
It must have happened like either right at that corner
Mm-hmm.
or somewhere over here, I'm not sure. But that's the exterior access.
Right, but I mean, where the
It
So
happened at one
see
of
this,
these corners.
again, for the record, Paul Santos, so see this bump out right here?
Mm-hmm.
That was designed as 3 feet. That bump out is 3
No,
feet,
3 feet,
8
8
inches.
inches.
so this is this stairway.
No, this,
No, this little wall
this
here.
right there.
Okay, that's what I. Okay,
So that's what I'm
So
saying. This
8
is-
inches along the length of that wall results in the 10 square.
So
feet.
presumably the stair is 8 inches narrower.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
Well, not if they pour the stair at the same time,
Yeah.
which you said they would
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And they bumped everything out to the wrong end of the other pin on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But then wouldn't it? Is there are access stairs? Do they have to be a certain?
Well, they have to be 3 feet. Most people make them more than
right,
3
the
feet
stairs
wide.
would be narrower.
But if they would, if the is it a code like minimum 3 feet for a code or?
Yeah, well, if it's an egress, it
Yeah.
would be a minimum of 3 feet. Most people make them wider just because you're trying to swing big things down there.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, 3.8 would have been a reasonable width.
I'm just saying. So if we.
Can you get some information on, I mean, would it be helpful to?
I mean, does it matter if the stairs are more narrow?
No, I'm just curious if just to show that's,
where it went.
yeah, how it happened. I mean, that might show us how it happened exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you meet, what do
But
you
then
guys-
you wouldn't meet code if the stairs were 8 in.
Well, they look like they're wider than 3 feet. I think the stairs do meet the code.
Okay.
At least it visually looks like on
Right,
this
right.
as-built that they're wide enough. I'm just wondering if they were less wide than they anticipated, and that would show the 8 inches
Mm-hmm.
shifted. How do you, so because a special permit, you are allowed to make this provision, but as a variance, the standards are different, correct? It's not more detrimental to the neighborhood standard, it's a very different standard.
Is anyone in the neighborhood complaining about this, do we know?
You know, they could have dealt with that too. When they framed that house, somebody should have picked up on the fact that this wall is 8 inches longer than it should be.
Right.
And they could have put a block wall inside that thing, built it where it was supposed to be, and then cut off a little section
and
of that
cover it
wall.
over.
I mean,
Or do something.
the fact that they're in here at this point now is not really
Is the
good.
house complete?
I think so.
Yes.
They must have been going for an as-built.
And I know it
Yeah, that's what the
wasn't,
email said.
No one was aware of it
Here.
until the as-built was completed.
Well, Jeffrey, is it your impression then that can that be done now?
They have to,
I mean, it could be done now, but it would be
they'd have to move.
Oh,
the-
because they'd have to cut shit.
they have to cut the gable end off or whatever it is.
I was just thinking
Does it
about the
make
foundation.
sense?
Can't really.
You know, when this has happened before, the board usually asks somebody a little closer to the person, either the contractor or the person who admits that they made a mistake, which rarely happens, of course, but it would be nice, and you're doing a very good job, but
Thank you.
that we should have somebody a little closer to the job making this
He
presentation.
didn't realize he was supposed to be here, both of us. But
So
I guess John had told him.
I would suggest that we continue it then, and maybe Bessie can be here, or whoever the sub was that did the work.
Somebody a little closer to
Yeah, I
everything.
mean,
so
I'd like
they're
to,
aware
I'd like
of-
to hear why they thought they poured it on the other side versus.
I may be able to text him and see if he can race here before the meeting's over, if that would
No.
help.
We're only
probably
at
say
4. I think we'll continue it.
Yeah, we'll continue it.
I mean, we might even, would it be helpful to see us see the drawings? I mean, does anybody
Yeah, I
want any
would-
more information? The building permit application, maybe, instead of the
Yeah,
drawings?
I mean, I
come
think
with the
I'd like to
building
see more information, because it definitely is,
permit? It's a variance.
like, as Jeff's saying, there are several times along the process where this should have been caught, and the fact that it's coming here now, and the fact that it was built out to the maximum, I'd like to see some more, rather than just, we made a mistake.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to continue? You understand the information we're looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you ask about this?
Oh, is there anybody here? Thank you, Eleanor. Is there anybody here to speak to this? No? Somebody want to make a motion to continue?
I'll make a motion to continue. Sorry, Jeff.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
I'm off on the next one. Yeah, and then I can't sit in executive session, so this is too late. Right, because Steve's presenting.
Okay.
You want me to open this without Ed, or do you want me to grab Ed?
I'll go grab him because I'm going to go outside.
Okay.
We're at
4217.
Surf Act.
Mac
Yep.
Daddy?
The request to continue.
Oh, so we're at 4017, and you've requested continue Mac Shack.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak regarding the continuance of 40-17? Nope.
No.
Anybody want to make a motion? Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
So
Then you can't sit on
there's
this
two
one.
applications, we just extended both of them, continued both of them?
No,
There
the
was the one
Surfside
that
is
we
going to,
just basically
Cohen
pushed.
gets,
No, this
Western
JD,
Ave.
that's
40
what
Mac Daddy, 40-17.
No, the other one.
34
we still
Western
have to do
Ave.
it.
34 Western Ave, we still have to do that one.
It's got the
No,
same
no.
number as...
It's 4117.
4017,
41.
41.
Yeah, I missed that too. Is that
Well,
the
what I was
end of
saying
the?
is, 37.
Is that the end?
so,
I don't have my agenda.
no, go ahead.
Wiped up in this stuff.
I
Just to clarify, that
I
Western
agree.
Avenue and Monomoy Road should be continued, but Hatikva Lane should be heard.
Right. We have Van Hoven 47 or 3717 that we didn't, right?
Yeah, but he's not here.
Right.
Okay, so 4117 wants to be
Why don't we wait until the
continued.
end of the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I know you
is there
wanna get to
anybody
that.
that was here to speak on 4117? Nope. So does somebody want to make a motion to continue 4117 until December 14th?
moved.
Okay, is there a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
So now we're on 4217, right? I don't have my agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on.
All right, 4217 Surf Act LLC 1 and 2 Hatikva.
Hatikva.
What?
Hatikva.
Hatikva.
What?
Wait,
Hatikva. Yeah.
for the applicant. Who's speaking? Both of you at once?
We'll keep it really short. Stephen Cohen for
Please.
the applicant. There's two lots. They both have the same problem. The property is a front yard intrusion up to a foot, roughly on both sides, into the front yard setback, caused by the myth measurement from the survey. And Dustin Morey's here. He can tell you. I think he was the one on site.
Yeah, so I was the contractor, Dustin Morey for the applicant, yes. So I was the contractor. I couldn't get a hold of a surveyor. They told me they were on vacation for the next 2 weeks, and I wanted to keep the job moving. So I went ahead and pinned the footing, or for the footing myself. I went off of the wrong plan. There were two plans. I went off of the one for the original subdivision plan. Should have been going off of the as-built for the duplex that we had just built. So it was my mistake.
Where's the secondary line on this? I don't understand.
Right here.
And when did you pick up on it, Dustin?
19 and 19, it's supposed to be 20.
Nobody picked up on it until the as-built.
The as-built for the CO is what identified it. Yeah.
Surfside Road somewhere. Where's
Hatikva?
Formerly 82 Surfside.
Do you know where H.E.
Almost
Ritchie's
across
house is?
the street from,
It's over by there.
My Common Ave.
Yeah.
My Common Road.
So you got one of these little weird subdivisions put in there, and then
How many lots is this? I don't-
there's 3 lots.
So there are 3 lots. Each lot has a duplex and a tertiary
That's a duplex, I got it.
Well, two of them have the. Well, now I'm confused. How many lots are there, Steve?
There's 3 lots.
The one in the back is just one big building, and then the front 2 have a duplex and then a tertiary.
Yeah, this is the plan is an as-built, so it doesn't necessarily show everything.
So this is the one lot here.
It's during construction.
This is the other lot, and this is the third lot.
Yeah.
Oh, so this doesn't show all the buildings, because you said each one, where?
No, it's only
this-
these 2 that are under discussion. This one needs.
Well, where's the why, this is
This
two?
is a duplex.
Oh, a duplex, I got you.
Right. So each lot has a duplex and a tertiary, and the 2 tertiaries that are on the front on Surfside Road are approximately a foot within the 20-foot front yard setback.
And are these, let's see, is this a variance?
No, it's a special permit.
Why does
I
this
mean-
one get to be a special permit and the other one's a variance?
It's a different zoning district.
No, I don't think why, what
the,
is?
The last one is a ground cover issue, which does not allow for the special permit,
Got it.
whereas setback intrusions are allowed by special permit.
So, Dustin, you did both of these at the same time?
Yes, I did.
And you said that you wanted to go ahead with pouring the footings. What about pinning the walls?
I did that as well, off of
Within
the same
2-week
plan.
time?
What's that?
You said the surveyor was on vacation for 2 weeks, and within that 2-week time, you poured the footings and then
Poured the
also-
footings and then I pinned the.
You pinned the walls yourself?
Yeah, about a day later.
Wow. You must
Yeah.
have done this yourself. What other foundation contractor would have been there the next day?
Well, the only reason I had to pin them is because I could actually get the twins on site, so.
So I would note that there's a special permit from the planning board for the tertiary dwellings on this lot that requires a substantial amount of screening, and I could provide you with that plan, but basically there's supposed to be 5-foot minimum hedges in the front of basically the entire thing except for where the entrance of the road is. So there is already a requirement for there to be a very good amount of screening of these buildings from the road.
Yeah, both of those tertiary units are like 35 feet from Surfside.
Not really. Maybe. Anyway, it's unfortunate, certainly. How are we feeling about this?
Were they prefabs?
No.
They were stick built?
Couldn't-
There's just a lot of architecture on some many sites.
How are you feeling?
I'm a little hungry.
I got a little tiny bar in my pocket that I'll give you a bite of. The as-built doesn't show it, but I assume they meet the scalar depth,
Do you need that between a primary and a
separation.
tertiary?
I don't know. Do you? I think you do.
Yeah, I've had Dan Malloy and Joe Marklinger confirm that we are in conformance with all zoning dimensional requirements except for these 2, because the last thing I wanted to do was come back and ask for more relief.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would be 10 feet between the steps of number 3 and the back of the tertiary. That looks like it's more than 10 feet.
No, you think?
Well, if
Doesn't look like 10 feet to me.
if that is 19.4, half of that,
That's-
yeah. Well, maybe
Yeah, we need to have an
We-
as-built showing that, I think.
showing that would be a good idea.
Why didn't they put that measurement on here?
The encroachment is shown, and there's a footnote in my terrible handwriting that says that the
Oh, that's
plan.
your handwriting. I was
That's
wondering.
my childlike handwriting. Yes.
Other structures under construction not updated here.
Yeah, other
Yeah.
structures under construction not updated.
So what other structures?
Yeah, I
are-
don't understand.
all of the structures are sort of in process. I think since this was submitted, most of them have been finished. I think all of them are finished at this point, right, Dustin?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could certainly submit an as-built showing dimensional conformity with the rest of the for the site.
I think we should.
That's
I mean, we have to produce it anyway for the CO.
Here, I have that here.
I'm just saying, that's
Oh.
11, and there's no way that's...
Yeah, if that's 11, does not look like 10.
No.
But it is possible to move these structures back, right, if you have to.
Right, yeah. Anything.
Power tools and money.
Well, I think we should get that
Insurance
clarified,
company.
what the dimensional setback.
We
what-
should definitely see a stamp plan too, showing these dimensions.
Yeah. So, I think
Well,
we're gonna.
which dimensions? Because the setback intrusion is,
No, the scale, except the separation between the dwellings.
And I'd like to see a stamp plan that shows the setback intrusion.
well, that is stamped, isn't it?
It's
No.
not stamped on ours.
Not stamped.
Okay. No, okay, that could be provided.
I think if the units are further along, it would be nice, rather than have your handwriting, to have an updated plan.
Yeah, if I could ask through Eleanor, I don't think that 10-foot rule actually applies to tertiaries, does it?
Definitely.
The tertiary can be right up there. There's no. I thought that all
makes no sense.
makes absolutely
Well,
no sense. But it's
I don't know why we would
Nantucket.
assume that it's supposed to make sense. I think you know better,
Yeah.
but
So the tertiary can be
2 feet away?
2 feet away from the other building.
well, a garage could be, a shed could be. I believe
But
that
a secondary dwelling
but-
can't be.
I believe that the 10-foot rule only applies to secondary dwellings.
That would be Nantucket.
That would right.
Why don't we continue this so you can
Clarify that.
clarify that, show us a plan with more the dimensions just in case, and
And get us,
handwriting,
what's that?
and work on his handwriting.
no, get a stamped plan.
I can get a stamp plan. That's not a
and let's
problem.
move on.
Well, let me ask you, just to save everybody time, if you just want a plan that shows that there's no dimensional nonconformities besides for these, could that just be a condition of the relief?
No.
Please?
And I'm going to tell you why.
Yes.
Because then I get the plan, or we do, well, let's say we do. We're all working, we're all busy, and somebody's telling me, you got to sign this, you got to sign this, you got to sign this.
Yeah.
I want, no offense, I don't.
Somebody.
I'm getting
Somebody.
Which, it's not, I'm not throwing Eleanor under the bus at all. What I'm saying is it pisses me off because this information should be here now. We shouldn't even have to ask for it. So for me to get it during my normal busy workday, I don't know about everyone else, but I'd sort of like to read the stuff that I'm supposed to sign, and I don't always have time. But
Right.
here I have time, and I have all my friends to talk to and discuss it with, and then somebody else sees that there's some other nonconformity that I didn't notice. So yeah, I object to that. So I'm not going to agree to it. But I'm only one person.
I
Everybody.
agree with you.
Okay. I will get you a stamp plan showing dimensional conformity and the intrusions.
Thank you.
Is there any other information I can provide?
Any information, Steve, that you think we might need?
That's a
As
great answer.
opposed to the minimal amount of information you think that can get by.
I don't no
Okay.
idea what you're talking about, Ed.
Let's move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll
So
continue
we need
to
a motion to continue
motion to
until-
continue to the December meeting.
Oh, is there anybody in the public wanting to speak to this, Paul?
Okay.
Social media would kill you, man.
Thank you.
So did we vote to continue to
Yeah.
December 14th? We did already?
No, we did not.
We need to.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Karen, thank you.
All of you be here?
I hope so. Anybody want to further discuss it? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
4317, Michael R. Watts, Amy Watts, 6 Goose Cove Lane.
Lori Geddes representing the applicants. This is a case of an outdoor shower that was built approximately 0.53 square feet in the setback. I do have a stamp plan, which I know you guys have a small one, but I brought a larger one in case that would help. And I also have the original plan that was drawn for HDC submission, which shows the outdoor shower being 9 feet 7/8 from the rear setback, which it was a 10-foot setback. So when the outdoor shower was built, one of our subcontractors went out, that plan was there, he built it. If it didn't have a decking on the bottom, it would be considered a fence. I also have an email from the closest encroachment is too little to be of any concern to me.
In the construction, error
Thank you.
occurred when the surveyors placed the main house 2 feet northwest of the original site plan.
And I can show you that too. I have that with me.
Who was the surveyor?
Bracken Engineering.
Will he,
I don't even think it matters. It's a fence. You should move it and not come here. Not you personally. We love to see it. But.
Yeah, and
Well, if it was a fence, it wouldn't be considered.
I'm saying from a construction standpoint, it's not a building. It's not a piece of concrete.
And a half a foot, I wouldn't say is de minimis, frankly.
I would, but I'm thinking it's more the principle. It's a variance, number one.
and it's easy to do.
Okay.
Why is this a variance if it's a setback intrusion?
I have no idea.
So they created this is new construction.
What about the
It's
last
6
guy with
inches.
new construction?
They created a non-conforming, because she's not saying it's based on surveyor error. He's claiming surveyor error.
Oh, no,
No, he said it was his error.
Well, but he was the surveyor, de facto.
No,
that's a licensed surveyor
Well, that's an
error.
interpretation that was submitted with their application.
Oh, well, I
They were
don't
asking
buy
for,
that.
you can ask for special permit relief. This is not how this came in.
Okay, well, we're going to have to keep that in mind. But anyway, the variance is very, just for you, the variance is very hard for us to come to terms with. And this is literally something that could be rebuilt with very minimal effort. I mean, I don't see pictures of it. I don't know what's involved, but I have a fairly good knowledge of what an outdoor shower, how it's built. And I just, if I'm the applicant, I just don't even want to have this whole situation. They should just fix it.
How much does it cost for an application?
I don't
Probably
know.
more than the cost to
$300?
fix the.
$450.
Well, nothing costs $450 in the construction world, except if you're going for coffee.
Actually, that's on it. How many people? That's on an all test.
All right, let's move on. So, how are we feeling?
I think it can be fixed, but again, I don't have it. Besides what's on here.
I mean, it's de minimis, so if we could do it by special permit, I probably would have done it, but if it's a variance, I don't see that it meets any criteria for a variance. So that's the issue, because it has to be done by variance.
I agree, but I disagree about a half a foot being de minimis.
Yeah.
It's setback.
Yeah.
I'd say a
With
quarter of
something
an
as
inch
simple
is
as this.
de minimis.
Yeah. Hopefully the quarter of an inch would fall in the plus or minus category.
Yeah, and we wouldn't even see it.
We wouldn't even have to talk about it.
So
you have a choice. We can either vote it, or you can withdraw it, or you can go back to your client and talk to them if you want to continue it. But I think you get a sense of where we're going with this. So do you have a preference on any of those?
You want us to continue so you can?
Yeah, I think we should continue it, and I should look more into the special permit versus the variance.
I don't think you can get a special permit here. Well, I guess you could blame the surveyor.
And he would have to come in here and say he put the house 2
He
feet
would be.
closer.
I think he would be willing to do that because it's shown on the plans and all that.
Like my alarm. It's up to you. So I'm not saying just because it's a special permit you're going to get relief either, just to be clear. But if you'd like to continue, that's fine. So is that what you want to do?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we have a busy day on December 14th. Who wants to make that motion?
Did you ask about public?
Public? Anybody in the public? No. Nobody. We're good.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Now we need to continue that one other thing, Ed.
Oh, which one didn't, oh, yeah. Thank you, Jeff. 3717 John A. Van Hoven, Lee Van Hoven, 46 Hooper Farm Road. No applicant. We will hopefully continue to December 14th and let them know.
We'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Anybody, no? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so,
We're supposed to turn off our mics.
not yet, I don't think. For the other business, we keep the mics on? Not executive session, right?
Okay.
Eleanor?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, other business. We're self-reporting an unintentional open meeting law violation. Do you want me to summarize that, or do you want to summarize it, Eleanor?
It's just to preclude any, potential violation, we want to self-report. It's a matter of being careful.
Right.
That was unintentional. And this is going to be a matter of record to clean it up. And the specific correspondence and questions in the packet, so it's all on the record.
Okay, cool. So we're good? The bottom line is, you can't even email more than two, you're not supposed to talk about this stuff.
Okay, yeah, no, I understand. I just didn't think that
I'm
this
not
was
talking-
not speaking about a particular case. This was talking about.
Well, yeah, there was a discussion point on, this was not about a specific zoning board of appeals matter.
It was not.
No, but it is a matter of something that would eventually possibly be adjudicated or dealt with through the zoning board, because it's a bylaw that we would be enforcing or upon.
Yeah. Just
Whatever.
Still a zoning matter.
Yeah, I wrote
It's
it.
in
I
the
wrote it.
packet.
I replied to an email, and I took everybody off, thankfully, but Ed and Susan and Eleanor, because we had been at the planning board meeting together as citizens, not as ZBA members necessarily, about this issue.
the issue about the
steps
steps
thing.
and the the steps in
The
the
setback.
setback. So, anyway.
Anyway.
Eleanor's we're just crossing the T and dotting the I here.
Okay.
And just try, we just try to we don't want to be in the paper. Okay?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to call Ilana. And,
Should we go into executive session?
yes, we should.
And which, I think in order to do that, everyone has to.
So roll call vote. I'm going to make a declaration. I declare under General Law 30, C, 30A, 21A, 3, and 21B, or B, that the purpose of the executive session will be to discuss strategy with respect to litigation known as King versus ZBA, Land Court 2017 miscellaneous 000573-long, because discussion of the foregoing in open session could have detrimental effect on the litigation position and negotiating position of the ZBA. And the board shall not return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session. Okay? So can someone make a motion to go into executive session for the purposes and reasons declared by the chairman and with the ZBA to not return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session? Thank you, sir. Okay, the motion's...
So now every person votes.
Yeah, the motion's been made in second, so there would be a roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Michael? Edward? Aye.
Please. Aye.
Lisa? Aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're supposed to turn your mic off too.
Now we turn them off.